What is up, everybody? My name is Aaron Knoll, and welcome back to TMG After Dark. Maddie's feeling a little under the weather. We're hoping he'll be able to get in here once the show gets started, but I said I'd take it off from the start. And I'm joined by some of the regular guys. There he is, making himself known. We got some of the regular crew here with us. We'll go ahead and intro them for what will be technically the final show of 2020. Because if anyone does go live next week after New Year's, it will be one. And hopefully a better year than this shit show. Let's go ahead and go to not the Mandalorians, just the Mandalorian this week because Boba Fett spun off to a new show. We got Nikki.
This is the way.
Yes, this is the way. Lone Mandalorian now. I forgot to speak into my microphone. But yeah, the child is somewhere. Boba's somewhere. We don't really know anymore. And I just hit the camera off, so now I'm off center. So great job, guys. Great start. We're doing good.
All right. And we'll go ahead and go to Mr. Hashtag Rex and Randor, Matt Beer.
Yes, please. Let's all use the hashtag Rex and Around. Rex and Around on Andor. We're gonna do this until Andor comes out, and if he's not on there, then my hashtag will be boycott Disney. But I'm doing all right. Had my favorite basketball team get blown out. Well, they weren't blown out as bad as the first game, but yeah, they were pretty bad.
The 93 Bulls?
Yeah, I wish 93. 95, 96 would be better, but it is what it is. I want to take what I can get. It's a rebuild season, but you know what? I'm all for it.
Yeah, rebuild season. I think the Bulls have been saying that ever since 93, 94. And we'll go ahead and move on to our fourth member on the panel right now. He is the Dr. Spaceman, Mr. Alan Shepard.
Aloha. Aloha, everyone. Here we have the Haumika plant. This is a native Hawaiian plant. It has a pua that is a night bloom. It is sometimes it's called the mahogany split. This is the plant show, right? We're talking about plants.
Yeah.
No.
Alan,
okay, we are. Okay, cool.
Yeah, this
I may be butchering this
plant show.
But
this is another plant.
I'm not.
What's that?
Waka.
Not quite, but okay.
Did I butcher the pronouncing there?
No, I honestly don't know what you said.
He said Mele Kaliki Maka. Of Merry Christmas, Mele Kaliki Maka.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's what he was saying. He attempted it. It was very nice. Yes. Mele Kaliki Maka to everyone. And I'm happy to be here with everybody. And even as a solo Mandalorian, even though the season finale, we still got one. There he is. And we're happy to have him here. And if you hear me yelling car, that's because my two regular kids and my adopted kid are running around the streets right now. So, that's why I'm observing, making sure, because it's a blistery 62 degrees here in Hawaii. So it's wintertime. As you can see, the gray clouds. It's very, 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 very cold.
I'm wearing a winter coat inside.
Yes, blistery.
No, the lone Mandalorian here. You know what? It wasn't one of the news topics because honestly, I don't read into TV news. I don't research it, but it was something that came up. That floating rumor after we discussed it for the last couple of weeks, and we mentioned it. If you guys haven't checked out any of the reviews on Nikki Flicks, I'll plug it for you. 3 of the 4 people on here were featured on that for most of the time.
And we got no views, but I posted a 30-second clip from Wonder Woman 1984, and that got 25,000 views in less than a day. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong with everything else, but that got
25,000 views on that.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, I didn't even do anything.
What in the world?
Wonder Woman yet, so I won't spoil it for you. What it is.
Yeah,
I won't spoil it either.
If it's not obvious, in case anybody is tuning in and watching, we're not going to be discussing anything that's come out over the last couple of days, just because some people have seen some things and some people haven't seen others. So for the sake of keeping it pure and not rising Alan's blood pressure a little too much, we're just going to keep off of those recent film topics and save them for future episodes when everyone here has actually seen everything that's come out, because goddamn do these streaming services drop a lot of shit on Christmas Day.
Maybe me and Alan can bitch about Wonder Woman tomorrow.
Yes, that would be a good idea.
We don't have a Star Wars to review. I loved it though. That's all I have to say on it.
All right. Alan wants to bitch about it, and Nikki loved it. That's everything we got to say about it. No, but what do you think about this? Since we talked about this on the Mandalorian show, I'll bring this up first. There's a floating rumor going around now that apparently Mandalorian season 3 isn't set to come out till 2022. Now, there wasn't a confirmed month within 2022, so we don't know if it's like December 2022, like it's getting booked another year, or maybe it's like 2022 is in whatever Book of Boba Fett is, comes out in December, airs into 2022, and then they start airing Mando immediately after. But what do you think? Because I would say overall the prevailing theory amongst the crew here at After Dark was they could probably run those two shows simultaneously if they wanted to. It doesn't seem like that's the approach they're going to take if this rumor is true.
It seems like there was like a misstep, like somebody on that big shareholder day said like 2021 for Mandalorian season 3, and they may have been getting confused with Boba Fett, but I would be circling March 2021. Like that's when I would guess it might come out, unless they really want to push it back to be at Christmas. But what we also don't know is Mandalorian season 3, is that going to have to come after the first season of Rangers or after the first season of Ahsoka? Do we need to see those two first? Because we know that's kind of had a little bit of trouble with like Falcon and Winter Soldier when it comes to Black Widow, like different movies in the MCU, because those haven't come out. Some of these series are going to be pushed back and edited a little bit so that we don't want to be spoiled about a movie that's coming out on a TV show that comes out before that isn't supposed to. So very, very curious to see like how these shows like fit together. I do think they will fit together, kind of like puzzle piece. And we mentioned like the CW universe, but I think it's more closer going to be to like the Netflix universe, how with Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, where those shows took place one after another. Like you could tell when Jessica Jones started that Luke Cage season 3 already happened, or season 2 already happened. So
I was gonna say, like, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I'm at the point now where I think anything that Dave Filoni and at this point Jon Favreau is attached to is subject to connect, because with season 2 of Mandalorian, we've seen so much of Clone Wars and a little bit of Rebels, because I know there were some recurring appearances on Rebels, but it's intersected now with this new sector of the universe. And then from there, we have Rangers of the New Republic. We're going to have Ahsoka. We know if we go back a little further, Fennec Shand is appearing in Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And now we have Book of Boba Fett, which will be under the same. And now we have Book of Boba Fett, which is under the same producers. The other thing I found interesting, I wanted to bring up, I forget when specifically it was announced, but a third executive producer is on that show. So we know that Filoni is a part of it. We know that Favreau is a part of it. Robert Rodriguez is going to be an active executive producer on Book of Boba Fett, which I think is very interesting after he directed probably the most Boba Fett heavy episode of that season.
How long until we see Danny Trejo in that show? 2 episodes, 3 episodes? Trejo? He has to be playing a bounty.
He's the first shot of the show. He's the first shot.
Yeah. First shot of the show, Danny Trejo walks into Jabba's palace and like gets you, because that's just too perfect. You could just have him play Machete. You don't even need to.
I was gonna say they're gonna connect it. He's gonna walk in. Boba's gonna say, "Who are you?" And he's gonna say, "I'm Machete."
And now Star Wars. Robert Rodriguez.
We can connect it because so. I think I may have played a little bit of connect the dots on how Robert Rodriguez became a part of Mandalorian, because he talked about how he was a last minute replacement for another director who was supposed to direct that episode. I didn't find out until it released yesterday that Pedro Pascal is one of the stars of Robert Rodriguez's new movie, We Can Be Heroes, on Netflix.
Nice.
So I assume that's where it came from. He probably just hit him up. Right? He just hit him up and was like, "Hey, you want a job?" And it happened.
That looks really cheap. Like that looks really cheaply made. I've heard
it's actually not terrible. Like it's definitely better, because considering it's like a half sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which is fucking atrocious. I've heard it's far better than that.
Is water in it?
Whoa! Yeah. It's a half sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Okay, so what if you don't know what this movie is? This is one of the many movies that released on Christmas. We Can Be Heroes is a Netflix original by Robert Rodriguez, and it's focused on it's like an intergalactic invasion. And there's a long group of superheroes that attempt to fight it off. but get defeated and kidnapped. And so it's a kids film. So it's the children of these heroes attempt to aid their parents in defeating this alien and break their parents out of that captivity. And like Pedro Pascal is one of them. I know another one of the leads is Priyanka Chopra, who works with the kids a lot in the film. But two of the group of heroes in it are Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and one of the kids is their kid. Taylor Lautner is not in it. He was unavailable for filming because I believe they filmed part of this over COVID. He was unavailable. He was a
dick in real life.
He was unavailable for filming. So apparently, from what I've heard, Shark Boy is played by a guy named JJ Dashnaw, who's been a long time stunt work coordinator and worker with Rodriguez. And it's like he's got a mask over his face so that it's not seeing, it's not Lautner, and he's basically a silent character. He doesn't talk very much. He's just action. But the original actress who played Lava Girl, who hasn't acted in years, apparently Rodriguez convinced her to come back for this movie. But I've actually heard.
I will actually watch this because my kids actually loved Shark Boy and Lava Girl, so we didn't know that it was out, so we will check that out.
It was supposed to come out January 1st, and at the last minute they shuffled it up.
Interesting. Maybe because of the Pedro Pascal thing.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah. So some of the adult actors that are in it: Priyanka Chopra, Pedro Pascal, Boyd Holbrook, Christian Slater, Sun Kang from the Fast and Furious series. Those are the main big stars in it. It's got a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 65% like rating. So it's actually positive in terms of people liking it versus disliking it, which is shocking.
Can you say those names again?
We can be
God damn it, there's a sound bit coming, I know. But Priyanka Chopra, Pedro Pascal, Boyd Holbrook, Christian Slater, and Sun Kang.
John Cena?
He is and Christopher McDonald's in it as well. He is playing John Cena is Shark Boy. That's why you can't see him.
Yeah. I thought he was faster than Invisible Man.
It's like they show Shark Boy and it's just his abs.
Yeah.
It's just fake abs that they gave him.
Yeah. Kind of like in Step Brothers with was it Adam Scott or whatever, when he goes up, he's like, look at these things, and then pulls up and it's clearly not him.
Clearly were fake
enough, though. Two cameos you mentioned in 1 minute. You said Christian Slater, right?
Slater's in this film. Yep.
Christian Slater is in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country. He goes to Sulu's bedroom in the middle of the night. There's a joke, start of a joke right there.
Sexual than it should be.
Yep.
Whoa. Then, easy. The way you frame that, he went to Sulu's bedroom in the middle of the night, but he had one scene where he delivered a message. But, you know what I'm saying? I mean, come on now.
I just called him
there could have been other stuff happening, but we didn't see that in the movie.
Why is he going to Sulu's room in the middle of the night? And not only that, why is Captain Sulu's quarters so small?
Why are we seeing Bone Town if that's clearly what's happening?
Adam Scott is the guy that says,
it's
the Enterprise in Star Trek First Contact.
Oh, okay.
Thrusters seem to be going off.
Was that the first contact Christian Slater had? You know, no first contact there.
Different movies. God, Excelsior.
I was gonna say I don't remember the last movie I saw Christian Slater in, but as somebody who this year watched Archer on Hulu, his arc in Archer is brilliant. I thought he was hilarious in that show.
Yeah.
He was there for like 2 seasons.
That show is brilliant.
I thought their new season was pretty solid, actually. I like what they did.
Remember when they changed the name of the organization because it was the name of a certain terrorist organization before? Yeah.
But I do want to throw my 2 cents though in the whole, because we were talking about the whole book.
Yeah, we got off track completely. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking about Shark Boy, Lava Girl, and then Star Trek, and then we were talking about Bone Town. But to get back to it, for how I looked at it, because if you watch the Good Morning America interview Favreau did, it clearly shows what he clearly explains when it's coming out, or it gives you at least an idea of what's going to come first between Mando season 3, Ahsoka, and Rangers, and it's going to be Mando, because he said that Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian are going to be in pre-production at the exact same time, and then he said shortly after Book of Boba Fett is done, Mando season 3 will premiere after.
Yeah, so February or March.
That's what I'm thinking. Unless Boba's only a couple episodes or something.
I may be misinformed, but I believe isn't Boba Fett already preparing to up and film now, or is it still only just in pre? I believe it's getting ready to film.
I think they've done like the scouting, the location scouting,
like shots and
the
locationing.
Dome.
Yeah.
Because they need to shoot that stuff for the Dome at some point.
Yeah, because I think they're either done writing Mando or they're pretty close to being done writing because
they were already beginning work on season 4.
Yeah, like they got to be filming very soon.
That Book of Boba Fett may only be happening because and this is just a theory that we had because of those 2 episodes that they didn't use, and maybe they might be like taking the 2 episodes and because how many episodes did they say? How many episodes? Book of Boba Fett
so this is something we got into on Nikki Flix's on his review. So when Disney Plus originally announced the renewal for season 2, and this was something they did to all their shows. So Mando got this, High School Musical got this, the Jeff Goldblum show got this, every show got this. They were all renewed with a +2 episode order. So Mando was actually renewed for 10 episodes. They chose to only go with 8. They made a choice to only go with 8 this season again.
Right. The only
I believe, like the High School Musical show, I believe is going forward with all 12. So it's clearly something that's there for them to use that they didn't.
It should be 20, but no.
You're right. It should be. That's should
be, but it is what it is. But I don't think they're going to use those 2 episodes for Book of Boba Fett because they clearly show that it's going to be post season 2 of Mandalorian because of how it ends. With Fennec and Boba,
I think what Nikki was talking about wasn't in terms of story, but he theorized that maybe they got maybe they got the option to go into a Book of Boba Fett because they didn't use those 2 episodes. So because they were pre-renewed for 10 episodes, there would be a certain sect of budget that they were renewed for that they either pumped into other episodes or didn't use because they had a higher episode count. So he was theorizing maybe they were able to get like an extra show out of this because they didn't use everything. It looked like we were being joined by small children on Nikki's end. Grogu's back from training, and here comes Devin.
So I do want to address really quick, not Boba Fett related, but I do want to say this man right here who put this comment has no taste in film. FYI.
That is accurate. That is accurate, sir.
It's not.
That is accurate.
Sharkboy Lava Girl is a cinematic masterpiece.
It's great. Why was not nominated
for
Best Picture?
A classic.
I don't know. It's the biggest snub.
Exactly.
The biggest snub for Best Picture I've ever, have experienced in my life.
Since Spy Kids 3D, has there not been such a...
True. The 3D was revolutionary in Spy Kids 3D.
It was. Okay? Spy Kids 3D had fucking Bilbo. All right.
It did. And we had not 1, not 2, not 3, but like 4 or 5 Sylvester Stallone, and they're all different. Okay. Did Rocky have those? No. Did any Sylvester Stallone movie have that before? No. The Star Wars? No. Therefore, Shark Boy Lava Girl is the second best movie of all time. Spy Kids 3D is better.
Yes.
So I think that's really true. And George Clooney is like the president in this movie.
Speaking of revolutionary, you're seeing free surfing.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, well, it was George, and then he's like, "Oh, look, boom! I'm actually Sylvester Stallone." It's like, it was fantastic. But anyway, to get away from that because I needed to point that out.
I'll
agree with this comment because it is technically a better movie, but they're 2 of the greatest movies of all time. Get back. Now that I understood what Nicky was saying, because when he said those last 2 episodes, I thought it was like take those last 2 and make it what the show's going to be about. And I was like, well, I don't think that would be the case, but I do agree that if they didn't use those episodes or whatever, if they didn't use those episodes, maybe we wouldn't. I think at some point we would have, but that's true. Shark Boy and Lava Girl has George Lopez who plays a teacher in the villain.
And Taylor Lautner sang.
And Taylor Lautner. He's in it. Best performance Taylor Lautner is given. Devastated he didn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. That is actually probably
correct, because he's atrocious at everything else afterwards.
True, but Robert Rodriguez gave an incredible performance. You know what? If it would have been Taylor Lautner as Boba Fett, I would have been fine with it. Now back to it. I think that might be part of the reason, though, with the whole budget going into Book of Boba Fett. because we also don't know how long the show's going to be yet.
Yep.
They did say it was an event series, kind of like Lando's going to be an event series.
Right.
So, I mean, it could be 2 episodes, it could be 4, it could be 6, or it could be a full 8-season thing, or it could be kind of like Obi-Wan, which I think Obi-Wan is 6 episodes.
Right, and
I'm
they're
kind of leaning more
Marvel,
towards that.
all their Marvel shows, I believe, every single Marvel show is going for a 6-episode order. So,
Right. So, I mean, but I'm probably going to lean towards 6 episodes, but it depends. What story do they have in there? You
Right.
know, like what can they tell really that just involves Boba Fett? I mean, obviously it's probably going to be like an underground, like mafia type of story or whatever. But
Maybe
I don't
he's
know.
trying to create some clones.
Maybe.
And I was gonna say,
maybe get Rex.
One of the things that has me makes me curious about this upcoming show is, and I don't mean this as a criticism completely, but Boba Fett is a character that I've always been interested in how people are so captivated by him.
Yeah.
Because great as Tamara Morrison was like in the show, and it was actually something we didn't get to last week, but the original actor who played him, Jeremy Bulloch, passed away.
Yeah.
And as great as he did in the movies, Boba Fett has almost no character development in terms of things that would be majorly seen. Like, I know the Clone Wars did stuff with him, but in terms of like stuff that most audiences would have seen, which is basically the movies and Mando at this point, he's not really a character. So I'm very curious to see, like I think Tamara Morrison's a good enough actor that he'll pull it off.
Yeah.
And obviously Ming-Na Wen's never a bad thing.
Right.
But I'm very curious to see where they go with him in terms of being a character.
Right. I think what about it's all about killing Sarlacc. That's what Book of Boba Fett's gonna be about.
Where's Rex?
That's gonna happen. I think if anything, I think Rex will definitely be in Ahsoka. I'd be shocked if he's not.
If he's gonna show up anywhere, he'll be there.
Yeah, that would be like the first thing. That's like Ahsoka #1 is like the most likely place Rex would be in. But for Boba Fett, I think a reason why a lot of people do like him, a lot of kids that grew up watching Star Wars, the look with someone's like, oh, he looks cool, I like that. But I think what really got a lot of people interested in him and enjoying him was the extended universe stuff, with some of the stuff in the comics and the books and whatnot. Like, I know of a few people who are around my age or younger who love Boba Fett, and the reason why is because of the comics and whatnot. Like, because in the movies and whatnot, you don't get a whole lot, but the comics, it gets it gets to a point where he looks like a complete badass. So I think that's probably why a lot of people love him. I never I didn't read a whole lot of the extended universe stuff with Boba Fett in it, and I was never somebody who was like, oh my god, Boba Fett's the greatest thing ever. Right. But I do think now with Mandalorian, that is a character that originally I was like, I don't want to see a movie about Boba Fett or a show or whatever. Now I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued to see it. I would have preferred a movie, but
the thing is,
they gave enough character development within just the 2 or 3 episodes of Mandalorian than he ever got in the films, and actually that made me want to. And again, it's always proof of, with the right writers, the right directors, then you can create interest if you've got a good story and good character. So if the writers and the directors are still handling, this Book of Boba Fett, the same ones or different ones, or some ones are in the same school of creating good content, so then I'm seriously looking forward to it.
Yeah, because I think when he was created originally, it wasn't for we got to get everybody to love him. He's going to be this great character. It was probably because, oh, look, we can make money off of toys. Let's create something that kids will be like, oh, I want this. He looks cool, as a toy. Because he kind of just stands there, does not a whole lot, and then, how he dies in episode 6 was just like.
I was gonna say, so I'll bring up 2 more things before I play the first kind of topic video and we move on. But I was gonna say a weird reference point to go to, but bear with me for a sec. I never really thought about like how weird it is that Boba Fett was a character that captivated so many people until a couple of years ago, because brand sponsorships made them. An internet series called Epic Rap Battles of History did a Boba Fett and Deadpool battle, and one of Deadpool's lines in it is, you had 5 lines in a trilogy, and one of them was like the scream, the Wilhelm scream, which is actually factually correct to the films. He only over 2 films he said 4 lines and then had a Wilhelm scream
before you do
upon
that.
his death.
Yep.
And so sorry. And so, and I thought about it because I was like, oh, they're kind of right. Like, he really, as much as he's in those films, like, because he's in Empire a good amount of that film, he really doesn't do very much or say very much or get to portray very much. And so it is interesting how, like, just basically off the because I mean, really speaking, Boba Fett should have been destined to doom. His debut was in the holiday special. He shouldn't have succeeded.
Yeah,
but he did.
disintegration rifle though.
But he did. So I'll bring up one more point. I feel like most of this will probably be answered by Nikki because I think he knows the most about deep Star Wars. Maybe Alan knows a little bit too, depending on what he's seen. But it was put up in the comments. Sabine in Ahsoka or in season 3 of Mando. Any thoughts on if that's a character that can show up?
Mando season 3 comes first?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I still think they'll introduce her on Ahsoka
story-wise.
I think they'll do it in Ahsoka, or they'll do it wherever Bo-Katan.
I was gonna say story-wise, they could run concurrently, but it is going to show up. Is this legit? All 4 of his lines could have fit in a tweet before Twitter up their character.
Yeah, I think so.
That's incredible. Oh my god.
I actually think, though, Sabine is going to appear in Mando season 3. Yeah, I think that because for one, I think with what it feels like they're setting up with the Darksaber going back to Mandalore, it just feels like if she's going to appear anytime soon, it would be in Mando because we're getting introduced to some of these characters already from the Clone Wars and other shows in the past. I think we're going to get her in there because I think we're going to be introduced not only to Sabine, but I think we're going to be introduced to other characters from the show. Like I think Rex is going to appear in Mando season 3. I think there's a chance Ezra could appear maybe at the very end to maybe set up Ahsoka. Because I think Ahsoka is looking for Thrawn because she wants to find Ezra because that was the whole plan. So I think that's how they're going to connect that and lead pretty much right to where Ahsoka is. And then, I know Campia brought this up. I think it actually could be true where there's going to be kind of like an event crossover, like with some of the comics that they did for Star Wars recently with the Vader comics and then the Star Wars comics, where I think it would get, he said it would be Ahsoka, potentially Mando, Rangers of the New Republic, and it would have Thrawn as the overarching villain for all of those shows.
You could work Boba in as well.
You can work Boba Fett in there
to some extent if you.
Is it possible Rangers is a crossover series?
Yeah, I think it could be. I think it's more of a Cara Dune, but yeah, I think.
I was gonna say I don't know necessarily if it'll be like a direct crossover series, but what I could see them doing is, especially because it's the same writers, same showrunners, it's the same people working on all of them, I could see them formulating a story that could, like let's say, you said Campia's kind of theory was that Thrawn is an overarching villain.
Yeah, maybe it all leads to like a Heir to the Empire type of show or whatever.
So let's say Thrawn is the overarching villain because we know we're going to get Mando seasons 3 and 4, and we know we're going to get at least Ahsoka's being described as a miniseries, so that'll be a one and done, and we're going to get at least one season of Rangers.
I still think we'll get more Ahsoka than one.
And so I'm curious to see, like, maybe not literal direct crossovers, but I could see, like, if they want to make, like, play, because if it's not, I'm glad they kept Gideon alive because I definitely think Gideon could be an interesting character going forward. But I did like the angle they took of kind of turning him into this, like, he kind of went from being the Voldemort to being the Lucius Malfoy in that last episode. Like, he looked real weak.
I think it's all planned. I don't think I think that whole thing with him, with Moff Gideon, he was defeated. But I think it was all a plan. I don't think he just went down. I was like, oh no, I'm a wimp.
No.
He was
He
planned
wanted to get bit
when
by
he
Luke.
came in. By the way, in case nobody got the idea yet, there's gonna be spoilers for Mando here.
I think everyone's seen it.
Yeah, we gave you guys
half an hour in, yes, just so you know.
But when we get Luke,
Devin, you've seen Mandalorian? You can.
We all saw the last episode.
okay.
There you go. Okay,
Good.
beautiful. Let's do it. Go ahead.
So we got obviously I got people or somebody around me. I don't know where he's at, but he hasn't seen Mando yet, the final season or final episode. But
Final season.
when
Matt
Luke
Beer came up with
Skywalker
Mandalorian.
appears, obviously Moff Gideon was like obviously oh crap, because pretty much anybody in his position, whether he got captured or not, would be like oh shit. But we got Luke
Mando
Skywalker.
season 3.
He saw as an opportunity. Yeah. Thanks.
Mando season 3, I'm calling it right now. Mando season 3 is going to open with a scene very similar to the Sudeikis Adam Pally scene from the end of season 1, and it's just going to be two like either stormtroopers who are forced into it, or like New Republic people that show up, and they're just going to be cleaning up Moff Gideon's shit pants from when Luke walked in the room. It's just going to be cleaning that up.
He wore the brown ones today.
Like that, I'm calling it right. Bring Sudeikis and Pally back. I like that scene.
Yeah.
There will be less child abuse this way.
I thought you were gonna say that Luke was just gonna start beating Grogu. And
he starts beating him, going, "No,
first
you got
Luke in an elevator. It's Luke in the elevator with Grogu, and he just stares at him, and he's like, "So how are you?" Yeah, small talk in an elevator.
It's like it's Spider-Man 2, where it's like
Small talk.
nah.
Kind of runs up a bit.
Yeah, Kylo's gonna show up, and Kylo's gonna go up to Grogu or whatever while they're training. Go, hey, you might not want to show up on this day. Just warning you. Just go. You might just want to stay home.
Yeah.
That's the final. That's the final scene of Mandalorian when they end this show. It's just young Kylo being like, "Hey, you know that dude in the helmet? I'd give him a call right about now and get you out of here early."
I want to leave. Just a heads up.
Just don't come into work on Tuesday.
It's nothing to worry about.
Guys,
Nothing to worry about it.
we've been doing this for a couple weeks now. Like a couple months. Nobody's guessed what that soundbite is.
The scream? Isn't that Adam Driver screaming?
That's Adam Driver, yeah. Isn't it?
No, it's not.
This is
Is it? I thought I always said it was.
Yeah,
Okay, play it again.
Well, I knew that was, but I thought the other one was too.
yeah.
No.
Oh, maybe it's the last girl I talked to.
Is it Finn screaming Ray?
No, I gotta get that one though.
I mean,
does
which
that a
one?
lot.
It's his whole dialogue.
Hold on. We can't let that slip. Bear just said that's the last girl he talked to. I'm sorry.
Hey.
That made me very happy.
Hey, look,
That made me very happy, brother.
Is it Shad gets it before us? Is it Anakin on Mustafar? Oh, is that the I hate you? Is that what that is?
What?
I thought it was more. Jacob says I hate you.
Did you mean the only emotional utterance by Hayden Christensen in that whole trilogy?
No, I was
is
gonna
that
say
what you're
that's discernible. What is that?
It is Star Wars though.
Play it again.
No, it's not that. That's a good one though.
That's it.
It does sound like it.
All right, again.
That's
That's Finn with Ray, right?
No, Matt, I think Beer has it.
Say
wait
it.
one more time. I gotta put both my headphones in. I'm getting like
It's only part of the word too.
okay. I keep thinking of like Anakin and Clone Wars.
Do you have?
I keep thinking it's Finn with his Ray. That's it.
Do it again.
I just have an hour of Ray.
Savage animal
Is
scream.
it from a? Is it from a?
Is it from one of the movies?
Is it from an animated show?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Oh, it's from a show.
Is it from Rebels?
It is from Rebels.
Play
Is it
one more
Maul?
time. Oh,
It is.
yeah. As soon as you said it, I was like, "Yep, that's Maul." That was Maul in.
I've never seen Rebels, but I know he
wasn't
kind
that-
of goes savage animal a little bit in it.
Wasn't that
So
when
it's
he?
Maul yelling Kenobi.
Yeah, it's when he finds out Kenobi's alive.
What? That's
Yeah, it's like-
Kenobi?
No, he finds out Kenobi's alive because him and
I
Ezra
was gonna
connect.
say,
or something.
that's him saying Kenobi. Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
guess
he
when you play the whole
discovers
thing.
Kenobi's alive, and he has to go to Tatooine.
Specifically, it's the raw footage of Sam Witwer recording the
Okay.
dialogue for that scene,
Which is
and
hilarious.
the eyes. It's the best thing ever. He looks like he's gonna like just breathe fire. Yeah, he's like Kenobi.
You can pull it up.
I can. I have a capture card connected.
Oh, okay.
I have an hour of Finn screaming Rey.
Someone
Literally.
else.
Yeah,
An
exactly.
hour
That's what it
long.
sounded like a loop of
Hour
it.
of that movie is Finn scream. Oh no, it's just the loop.
It's
Okay.
from all the movies. It's from all the movies of him yelling Rey. Insane Rey.
Oh.
It goes on for literally an hour.
Echoes in the force. Kenobi. I just typed in Enobi.
It's just him yelling Rey for an hour. It's the best video. It's a great video.
Okay, there it is. I found it, guys.
Rey!
Play with the attitude you have. I like the attitude of it all.
Okay. All
That's
right.
Filoni
Mind's eye.
with the cowboy hat.
You go.
Okay, that one didn't sound right.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
There was a small child present.
Post processing and stuff.
Nope.
I think the beep was just a marker take. I don't think they cursed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, he swore. He was like, "Fuck Kenobi."
Listen, I wouldn't put it past Whitwer. He seems like a homely person, you know? I could.
What?
My daughter, who is
What's
on the
turning
ground
into Doomsday?
skateboarding,
So
just saw
guys,
me mouth a bad word. It's yelling.
Ooh,
Just
remember when
that's
Turning
on
into
you.
Doomsday?
That's on you guys.
they got it. They got it.
For forcing him to do that. That
You know?
scream at first when I was thinking, okay, is it Sam Witwer? I was thinking, oh, it's Sam Witwer when somebody tells him that The Last Jedi isn't bad. Because he hates
It's
that
just
movie.
somebody stepping on
Hate
Whitwer's
Last Jedi.
foot.
Look,
He wakes up in the morning, he's getting out of bed, he walks to the bathroom, he hits his toe on the wall.
it's like I actually don't think that The Last
Yeah.
Jedi is that bad of a movie. I thought it
Someone
was
needs
okay.
someone needs to teach him English. He held out the last two letters a little too long. It's like, Kenobi!
It's just
That was pretty good, Aaron.
you gotta pull up the video. Let me pull it up.
I've heard it enough times in the last 2 minutes.
True, we have played it 14 times in the last 2 minutes. All right, I got to break out of here because the kids are going a little too crazy.
Murder
All right,
someone.
brother.
All right.
Hello, everyone. I will try and stay warm here in this 60-degree weather. I promise. Don't worry about me.
No.
It'll be all right.
Stay
All
warm.
right. Aloha, guys.
Hey,
Wait,
I'll stay warm.
Shoots.
Right on.
All right.
Was that Darth Maul screaming in the background of Alan?
No, that was Finn yelling Rey.
Oh,
No,
okay.
he-
I
he's
thought it was
going
one of
fly.
the kids like.
I thought about taking him yelling Rey, but putting it in the Pornhub.
This is actually a great one, Diaz. It's
Oh, yeah.
Finn saying, I have to tell you something over and over again with no payoff for 2 hours.
I have to tell you
I
something.
mean, you got the payoff. You already knew what it was.
Yeah, but it should have been in the movie. And then even Oscar Isaac,
Oh,
Will Poe
He
is
feels
like,
it. He's on the Falcon. He's like,
That is
Ray.
that is
You
the
can
most
tell he can feel the Force by every time he says
Yeah.
Ray.
but
that
he's
is the
like,
most
hey, I got
hacky-
something.
bro. Chris
Josh,
Chris
pay
Terrio-
attention to Star
Chris
Wars movies,
Terrio-
guys.
Chris
He is the
Terrio
Force.
wrote that.
You
Chris
feel
Terrio
the
wrote
force.
that line with the intent of that line being Finn wanting to say like, I don't know, I have stomach problems, and then the fans were like, he has the Force, and Terry was like, oh yeah, of course he has the Force. That's what I intended.
He does have the Force.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
You know
I
it from the
planned
first
this.
scene of The Force Awakens.
Yeah. So, I mean,
The
you
Force
knew it was.
Awakens.
But I wanted him, instead of being like, Ray, I got to tell you something. And then after, they live, because, it looked like he thought, oh, we're going to die. I got to tell you something. When she's like, what were you going to tell me? He's like, oh, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you
Yeah,
later.
I'll tell you later.
And then Poe, of course, right before they die, is like, hey, what were you going to tell Ray? And he's like, is this a good time to tell you? Even though he was going to say it
Yeah.
to Ray when he thought he was
They were
going to
too
die.
busy hugging.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we were going to tell you. And then they just kind of leave it. Obviously you knew what
They
it
were too
was.
busy hugging. That's what It reminded me of Luke in Return of the Jedi. They just
Rey
don't
didn't.
like have the conversation like Luke and Leia. It's not something that like he really needs to say to Rey.
Mhm.
And I think it's, and he says it. He does say something to Poe where they're talking about. Stop doing that. It's very distracted. They're talking.
I was gonna
Okay.
say you need to stop swinging that thing around.
Yeah.
Every joke I can think of, I can't say in front of a child, man. You gotta
And,
stop.
no. Here's what it is. I just hear Moff Gideon in my head. Are you gonna kill him now? Kill him now and take it. It's yours. So anyway,
Mhm.
the conversation they have on the Death Star, like before they go on the Death Star, Poe's talking about how he knows what Rey's going through and Leia does too. That's kind of what it's. And then Poe says, "Well, I'm not Leia."
But he should
So
have
Rey
said.
and Leia. But
He should have said flat out, "I can use the Force," or "I have the, I can. I know
You
I
watched
can."
all of it?
The
He's
problem
watching all
is
That's not
It-
canon, and that
it's
doesn't
bad.
change the movie.
it's bad writing to leave it up to assumption.
Yeah,
Because
you
just
can't.
as much as you
Okay, true art is left for interpretation.
But you
right,
can't
so
be like,
I want to interpret it that Finn really just had to take a shit and he just wanted to say it.
If you want to, and you know what
That's what I'm
noise you would
saying.
make?
There's as much implied like context to that as there is to him being a Force user. Like that's something
No,
you
there's
should
not.
say.
No,
like,
I don't agree with that at all. I think they give you enough context to get what like JJ and Terrio want you to think of that. But at the same time, if you want it to be that Finn's in love with Rey, that Finn's in
No.
love with Poe, whatever you want it to be, it can be.
Who am I to judge?
some people want the sequels to be non-canon anymore, but you can't get what you want.
No,
You can't get what you want.
Here's the luxury that they have. They have 25 years to play with.
True.
The
But you
25
can't.
years to play with.
They want
Time,
Lucasfilm to.
in that period,
But-
and just don't call it 7, 8, and 9.
They
You know
want Lucasfilm to flat out say they weren't canon. That's what they want. They don't want to. Yeah, that's why they're like, we want them to acknowledge it, and it's never going to happen. But that's why I say you can't get what you want.
You know what we're gonna do.
Anyway.
Here's what we'll do. What we're going to do in a minute is I'm going to play our first topic video, and we're going to move into that. But before we move on, here's what's going to happen. All right, episode 7, 8, and 9. Here is your fix if you are not a fan of those 3 films. Okay. The start of episode 7 is all canon. Finn and Poe crash land on Jakku. Everything that happens after that is a fever dream that they're having while they're holding each other in the TIE fighter while it's sinking and Careless Whispers playing in the background.
Oh, please don't give that to them. There are YouTubers that will take that and be like, they aren't canon because there was a fever dream.
Sax solo. It's just the sax solo from Careless Whisper playing in the background.
Geeks and gamers will literally take that and say, they aren't canon because it was a fever dream. You can't give that to them. Now they're going to use that, and he's going to make 50 videos about that. No, the reason why I brought that up even was because you can't get what you want. Same thing with the whole Palpatine, though. Before we get out of it, the same thing why I didn't like how Palpatine was in the movie with no explanation is with
you gotta close that before you flash.
Palpatine.
It's a great sax solo. Go
With
ahead,
the
Matt.
Palpatine
Sorry.
and whatnot. Same thing with Finn not saying that he has a Force when they were like, what's going on? Like Rey wanted to know. He's like, oh, nothing. You can't leave it up to interpretation. You can't leave it in the books. You can't be like, oh, you got to read the books to find out. You got to read the books. It should be in the movies.
Don't read the books. So here's the thing. I hear what you're saying there. Do not read the books. They suck. They're shit. Don't do it.
No, Lost Stars is great. Don't talk shit about Lost Stars.
Lost Stars is good. Lost Stars is good.
Master Apprentice
Because here's the
is
thing
good.
with Lost Stars. They're like, we're never gonna do a YA Star Wars, so do whatever you want.
I thought there are some books that are bad. I'll give it to you. There are some books that are bad, but there are good, really good books. Like
gems.
The Dark Disciple, I think, is a pretty solid book. Catalyst was pretty good. Master Apprentice.
I've heard. What's it called? The Aftermath trilogy. I've heard the first one's not great, but I've heard the other 2 are good.
They improve.
I couldn't get through the first one.
The second and third are much better, especially the second one. The second one's much better than the first one. But you can't have with the movies because I would say 75%.
But the problem with that is that Snap Wexley in the movie just dies, and it's like, nah, I don't care.
But there's like, but my point being,
episode 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
So in the Aftermath books, one of like the storylines is that Snap Wexley or Wedge Antilles pretty much like adopts Snap Wexley.
Yeah.
And so it's like just Wedge having fun shooting people. It's like, yeah, but your son just kind of died.
By the way, Wedge Antilles and Snap Wexley sounds like a porno, but continue.
True. But what I'm saying though is 70 to 80% of the people that watch the movies never read any of the books that have been put out like in the Disney era and never will read the books. You can't put things in the movie you don't explain without the book.
To the film fans, Snap Wexley is, hey, look, JJ's buddies in the movie. Look at that.
Yeah, it's sad that he passed.
I don't I don't read the books either. Like that sort of stuff with Finn. I didn't get that in a book. And I hate their explanation about the Sidious cloned son thing. No, the guy was a dark side user. He did very evil things. Put two and two together.
Impregnate.
But they never, like, when it comes to the movies though, with Palpatine, they never really explain how he comes back at all. They do like outside of the movies and whatnot. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to the movies, if you're gonna put something in there, at least explain why it happened in the movie. That way, people don't have to go, "Whoa, how did that happen?"
So,
okay, let's go back to
that question. Why did it happen? Because it looks cool.
But you can't do that. You gotta have a song. If you're gonna bring Palpatine, if you're gonna bring Palpatine back, like, okay, some things be like, okay, because it looks cool, fine, whatever. But Palpatine is different. You gotta explain it and have a decent.
Why did we
explain it though? The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. That's his explanation. He's being vague about it intentionally.
But
so that because any explanation you come up with,
secrets only the Sith.
Well, that part's dumb.
Right,
but anything,
so
they don't explain if he's a clone. They don't explain if he just.
Here's my issue with that.
If he's a clone, if he just fell on the ground or whatever, wherever that hole leads to, and just survive.
We'll do this all night. Roll the clip. Roll the clip.
Here's my final piece on it. What you're saying is completely legit. My problem is if they didn't try and give an explanation and they just rolled with the dark side has unnatural powers, I could live with that. The problem is you showed me septic tank Snoke over there. You got 10 more of those fuckers. And I'm just like, no, okay, now you're trying to apply. This is like when you put midichlorians in. You're trying to apply science to something that's supposed to be mythical, but you're not explaining your science. And that's what's bad about it. Like
the Thor science.
The Thor, but don't put science into it then. Like the Thor movies, right? The Thor movies have one line that writes away everything you can't explain. What you call science, we call magic. They're fucking one and the same.
But then there's magic too. Like there's magic that's not even science. So I think it's all situational. But the reason why I like that whole entire dark side of the Force, because I look at it as if you're reading like a textbook and there's like a little number next to it, and then you go at the bottom of the page and the number says, "See Revenge of the Sith."
Yeah, well, and then, but with outside of the movies, though, they do explain, how exactly they explain his soul pretty much transferred into another body. Yeah. I wish they would have said something like that in there rather than how, he's like, because I get it. If you're going to say he used the dark side, that's one thing, but at least say, okay, because they had that in the script too. He says,
because I hate that though.
They said less than a clone, more than a man is when they're talking, because Kylo flat out says, "Are you a clone?" And he says, "More of a man, less than a clone," or whatever. Yeah. I can't remember the exact thing. They said it in the script and then they took it out.
No, they took it out, and the reason they took it out is because they don't want to put anything definitive in the movie. Because the books, here's the thing: even the books that are quote unquote canon, they have no problem changing those. They changed stuff with Cobb Vanth already. They changed stuff with Ahsoka already. They have no problem doing that with the books. But if they say something in the movie, that's scripture.
Yeah, it like that was. I mean, I enjoy Rise of Skywalker. There's just things that happen in that movie that I'm like, you could explain that better. It's like they morphed two movies into one in a sense of they morphed what JJ wanted to be the sequel to The Force Awakens, and then the third movie, and they just
mashed the sound of them morph.
And it just was, that was the sound. It was just like squish, boom, there you go. When either it should have just been longer, or they should have did a 2-part.
Stop playing the sound. You're kind of screwed.
So that's my idea.
And with that being said, I'll go ahead and play the video. We'll go ahead and move into something slightly less controversial. More HBO developments, because that is technically less controversial than Star Wars. We're going to attempt to stay away from heated debate this week and simply focus on the new news at hand, because I think we all pretty much know each other's opinions. Yes, Devin, you have a very nice penis. Good job.
Yes, dude.
It's a
Why did you?
It's a BBC.
Oh,
I'll let the adult.
The kid's in VR. He's good. All right,
Yes,
let's go.
BBC.
Our first story this week focuses on Warner Brothers and the continuous fallout from their HBO decision. Over the last few weeks, Warner Brothers have continued to make headlines for the fallout for their decision to make all their 2021 releases day and date releases to both theaters and HBO Max. Over the last couple of weeks, the crew have discussed the in-depth aspects of this decision, and now we have further developments on what we discussed last week in the reported intended lawsuit from Legendary Entertainment. Apparently, in lieu of a lawsuit, Legendary have offered a settlement deal to Warner Brothers that, if accepted, would provide a out of legal action. According to Deadline, Legendary's proposal states that they will back down on Godzilla vs. Kong's dual release if Warner Brothers are willing to pay the $250 million that they are asking for. This money would equate to roughly what they put in on both Godzilla vs. Kong and Dune, and the figure would match the figure from the deal that Warner Brothers blocked when Netflix attempted to purchase the film from Legendary. However, Legendary is stating that they are standing firm on Dune being a traditional theatrical release only, as they believe that doing it that way is the only way to maximize its potential franchise future, as well as making it a box office success. Also, based on current projections, they believe that COVID vaccines will be widely distributed by its October release, meaning it would be viable for more people to go see it in the theater. This shows that Legendary are standing with director Denis Villeneuve, who has been one of the more openly critical directors of Warner since the announcement. It is assumed that should Warner not accept the proposal, Legendary will move forward with proper legal proceedings. However, insider sources are saying that Warner is highly debating accepting it simply just to avoid legal responsibility. There we go.
God.
All right.
Thanks for the compliment.
So to try and synthesize that down even more than I already tried to do, you're welcome, Devin. I'm glad we picked that one up. Yeah, so essentially last week we spent a lot of time and we had a really great discussion about this whole HBO thing. Different people have different sides. Last week we had Grant guesting on, we had Diaz guesting on last week. We had different opinions here and there.
I thought you said we had Grant Gustin on. I'm like, when do we have Grant Gustin on?
No, we had Grant guest. Yeah, he's a buddy of his. Matt's in his DMs. And so he probably is in his DMs considering who else he's hit up. But so damn it, now
Aaron,
my mind's fucked up.
You can't do this after you talk about Devin's penis. You can't do that and then expect us to listen to anything you say.
It's not helping that he's continuing to hold it in that position. And it's also biracial, which makes it even worse.
BBC.
I don't even know what you said.
Wait, isn't like his mom or dad black?
Was it about Dune?
So okay, so basically, so last week we discussed that Legendary Pictures was entering into potential lawsuit against Warner Brothers because
we were talking about the niceties of business and how there are none.
Right, and so this week, new information came out regarding that apparently Legendary did begin a legal pursuit, but whether it was by their own decision or by legal advisement, they've basically put out there a flat settlement to Warner Brothers saying, if you accept and agree to this, we won't pursue legal terms in order to get our money back. Basically what they're saying is, if Warner Brothers are willing to foot the $250 million bill that they blocked from Netflix when Netflix attempted to buy Godzilla vs. Kong and pay out their losses that they would take on the film, if Warner Brothers are willing to pay that, then essentially have what you will with Kong. You can do whatever you like with Kong. And their other statement is they are standing firm on they want Dune to be released into theaters only, based on the vision of the director, the stance of the company, and its potential for future franchise.
Why does Legendary think they can do this though? Like, why do they? What I don't understand. This is the equivalent to somebody like being mugged and telling the person, with the gun.
I think
I'll shoot you if you take my money.
Here's the thing. Okay, so this is the thing. I think it's a little more complicated than you guys were making it last week because Legendary has owned and had stake in both these franchises for long-standing periods of time, and they financed a majority of the film. So the fact of the matter is, like, no matter who has control of what, like, you can say Warner Brothers has distribution power. At the end of the day, Legendary financed a majority of a Warner Brothers film on the promise of getting their profits back.
But then what do contracts mean then?
And Warner Brothers have, but here's the thing, Warner Brothers made decisions without their consent or their warning even that would hinder their profits because it's not a matter of
No, I hear you.
Because it's not, that's what I was like trying to get into last week, right? It's not even like they want to do streaming and they want to do theaters. It's they want to do streaming and theaters, but Legendary has no access to any of the streaming profits. So even if these two films increase revenue to HBO Max, Legendary's not seeing a dime, and they're still going to have to contractually split the box office whatever way they've divvied that up. Which means you're lessening a box office opportunity if you release it to HBO Max. So they're going to lose far more money than they would have, even if a film had naturally bombed. And what they're saying is, they basically seemingly believe that they were entitled to some sort of decision or forewarning in order to look out for their company based on the longstanding partnership that we have held. You should honor that.
In the contract, though. Wait, it's all about what's in the contract. If it's in the contract that
I don't think there are any contracts that held clauses for COVID-19 because both these movies were filmed before.
I'm telling you, Warner Brothers is better lawyers than Legendary. So if this is one of those things that they did this, they may not have spoken to Legendary about doing this, but they thought about it long and hard before doing this. Good.
I don't think they did.
They thought about it a while before doing it. They know what the legal ramifications were, and they did it anyway. So whatever legal battle is coming up, they think they can win it.
So Legendary is, I think Legendary knows they're, if they sue, they're going to win because this is kind of like if Disney said we're going to put Spider-Man 3 straight to Disney Plus for free because they're, part of the distribution thing. It's Sony's character in the movies, but, if Disney says that, that's what they're
basically. But that's why Hulk isn't on Disney Plus. Because Universal's lawyers were better with those.
No, it's because Universal owns the Hulk.
No, Universal owns the distribution rights to the Hulk.
I don't know. But Legendary owns Godzilla, Kong, and the Monster Universe. They own it. That's theirs. It's not Warner Brothers. That's Legendary's. Legendary knows because they're not just going to sue. Like, we're going to sue because we don't like what you're doing. They know what's in the contract, whether they sign a contract for this movie specifically or if they had a 20-something year deal or whatever, or 15, whatever, because they've been working with Warner for.
Settle or no?
Wait, what?
So say that again.
Did Warner Brothers like they settle it all, or did they take this all the way?
I think they're going to take it, but Legendary, if they own the rights to the character, Legendary
as of now, there has been. So this is the offer that's been put out apparently. And Warner Brothers, I guess at this point, is mulling it over. Now, again, insider sources, you can trust it or you cannot. Insider sources to Warner Brothers are saying that they are heavily debating just accepting the offer simply because it's,
that'd be a PR move.
It'd be a PR move, but also, like you say, they must be. I don't think they actually thought this out all the way through because there are a lot of different things that are coming out now. Like we're talking about actors' payments and like even the actors that are being positive about them are saying they don't know what's going to happen. Like I didn't include it in the story, but Margot Robbie made a comment this week where she was like, I mean, Warner Brothers have been a company that have been very talent friendly for a long time. She said, so you'd hope they will eventually clear this up and make it clear
and about people working with them again.
And issue the apologies. Right. So this is what I'm saying. Like so I decided to look it up and I took notes here with this. Legendary as a company opened in 2005 and their first film that they produced alongside Syncope was Batman Begins. all of their films now they have never been owned by Warner Brothers. They have never been officially affiliated with Warner Brothers. Every single film they produced and distributed was with Warner Brothers up until 2014 when they produced Dracula Untold, and that was released with Universal.
Yeah.
But since then, even to this date, the only companies they really work with are Warner Brothers and Universal on certain projects.
They're going to be
it's a
working
court
with
of
Sony, though.
situation.
They're going to be
Like-
working with Sony here on out, is what.
Yeah. And so
thinking.
I think
Okay, so they're working with Sony here on out, and Warner. So that changes everything.
and
right
that's not
there.
confirmed.
Yeah.
That's just Matt
It's
theorizing.
just insider.
No,
like,
that's already been
yeah.
said. Some of their
So-
upcoming movies are going to be with Sony.
okay. So
Are
yeah,
they
Warner
serious
Brothers
with
is
that?
going full force now.
Wait, what?
I think Warner Brothers is going to take this to the end now. Because at first, what I thought was that from what like you said about Margot Robbie, that's one of those things like, okay, you just eat the costs there for good
Well, okay. So the reason that I mentioned
in the future and going to Sony moving forward.
Yeah, at
I
least
was
with some of
gonna
their
say,
projects.
I didn't see the Sony thing, but I could have just been something I missed.
Yeah. I think
because-
Warner Brothers will take it and win.
Because
No, they won't. They'll lose
so-
because it's not their property.
Yeah.
Legendary not only is it Legendary's property, like because they own the Kong
Mhm.
movies, the Godzilla stuff. Not only is it theirs, Legendary put 75% of the
Of the
budget
budget.
towards this movie.
so
yeah.
this is
Like I
this
said,
is
this
a
would be
case
like
of-
if Disney was like, we're gonna put Spider-Man: Homecoming Far From Home at directly on Disney Plus if Disney Plus was around at that point
No,
instead of
right.
in theaters. Sony
Yeah.
would sue because it's their character that they own.
Right, they
Legendary
should
is
be.
not dumb. They're not
Yes.
going to sue
That's-
if they don't feel like they have the case won. They're gonna
No.
win the case. Warner Brothers is gonna lose.
I-
Either they're gonna lose or Warner Brothers is gonna buy out.
because the fact of the matter is, and this is what it comes down to last week, right? Which is why honestly, and that's the thing, right? Is contracts are tricky, and so
Yeah.
like last week, right? Like we had Grant on, and all love to Grant, but like me and Grant were very clearly vehemently on different sides of the spectrum in terms of what we believe is the correct case of cause. The way that I look at it is I think this really is Legendary's case to lose, simply because they own the characters, they put forth most of the budget on the film, they have a long-standing and faithful and in good faith partnership with Warner Brothers,
Yeah.
and essentially at the first sign of trouble, Warner Brothers went and screwed the pooch on them and not only screwed them out of any potential profit, but when Legendary saw a route to just make back what they'd spent off of the one film, they screwed them out of that too. And they had an open opportunity, because it would have been one thing if they went to them and said, hey, we know we blocked your Netflix deal, but this is what we're thinking about doing, and that's why we want to hold on to it. They didn't. They blocked it and gave them no
I
reason.
hear
They
what
just
you're
said,
saying.
no, we're not
I
selling
just
it.
don't think it matters. Like I think it's all
You
about
think-
what the
you think if somebody-
distribution contract is.
So what if you owned? Let's say you owned.
Oh no, I hear
the
you.
Austin
I would
Powers
hate it.
movies. No,
I would
let's
hate
say you own. Let's say you own Austin Powers, because that's the
Yeah.
only thing that's coming to my head, since it's not a franchise that's ongoing right now. So let's say you own Austin Powers. It's your property. You own the right, and you've been working with Warner Brothers. Let's say for the last 16 years. I think 2004 was when they started working with each other, somewhere around that area. Or maybe a little later with Batman Begins. I can't remember.
Look,
But
Batman Begins came out in 2005, so probably
you're right.
early deals
Okay.
would have been made in 2004,
So-
2003.
let's say you're working with them, Nikki, in 2004, and you just started the Austin Power stuff again. Let's say they were making some money, whatever. It's your property. You ultimately decide what happens with the property, kind of like Sony decides what happens with Spider-Man and the Marvel movies.
Mhm.
It's your property. You put 75 to 80% of the profit or money in to actually get the movie made. And then
I
Warner
understand.
Brothers doesn't even tell you until, let's say, 30 minutes prior to the announcement, hey, we're putting this on HBO Max.
I
And
would
there's
say it
nothing you
would
can do
depend
about it.
what the contract says. If Warner Brothers was given exclusive distribution rights for streaming Godzilla versus Kong for these things, then I don't think Legendary will win, because it's all about, because you're right. It's more of a, this is more if Universal was going to do that with Disney's property, it's more like that. But I just think that Warner Brothers angled themselves in these negotiations back when they did have the character. Because you got to remember, Kong, that those things with Legendary. I'm not sure. Did they make the Peter Jackson Kong movie with them, or just?
I can look that up. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Because here's the thing: digital distribution rights back then didn't mean anything. They didn't mean jack shit. So if the contract was negotiated back then and Warner Brothers was like, we want exclusive streaming distribution rights, complete autonomy when it comes to these decisions, then Warner Brothers wins all day because those things didn't exist back then. They weren't popular. And Legendary signed the rights away without knowing that they were signing the rights away because they couldn't future. So that's all I'm saying. I hear what you're saying about how like the money they put the money in their character, but if the contract says they have autonomy in these digital release, digital distribution, specifically digital, because I know the physical that's completely thing. But if they have autonomy when it comes to digital distribution and streaming, then I don't think Legendary can win.
Which is why I think Legendary is suing, because I don't think they would sue if the contract said Warner Brothers decides what happens with this movie. I don't think Legendary's like, hey, let's sue and lose money. They're, because Netflix offered them money and Warner Brothers, didn't like that idea, so it never happened. But
you have to be some sort of arbitration type.
But I do think in the contract, I think there is something in the contract that's in Legendary's favor, because they wouldn't be suing if they couldn't win.
But it's like based on arbitration. You hear what I'm saying? Like if your like star player is like a second, third year player, and you have him under this 8-10 year rookie contract, he's making $300,000 a year, but he's winning your team all the games. They have salary arbitration. They do these things. So what will most likely happen from this situation is that both sides will win, where Legendary will be able to halt the release, but that Warner Brothers will end up getting more money than they would have on the back end. Legendary is going to have to give something up to get what they want here.
I think Warner Brothers is going to buy out. I think they're going to. I think Legendary wins. I don't think Legendary sues if they're going to lose. If they sue, they're going to win.
Especially because there is still, sorry, I was zoning in and out there, so I didn't hear everything that you guys said. But
it's a good conversation.
So there's a lot of interesting aspects to it. It's just here's my basis behind it. So I did a little more research into it while my internet was fluctuating. So Warner Brothers historically have no said ownership over this film. So because I was curious as to what happened with the 98 one, because it's not the first time a wide release Godzilla film had been made and distributed in America. So at the time, the 98 Godzilla film was actually distributed by TriStar, and that was again through deals made with the company that produced it. The only distribution company that has any sort of said ownership over the film is Toho, and they only own distribution for Japan. So they have the final deadline, say, of what happens to these films in Japan. But in terms of international release, it is Legendary that owns everything in terms of production. And they are the ones that have partnered with Warner Brothers for the distribution on it. And again, that is as a part of a long-standing relationship with them, right?
But the important words here are physical, theatrical, and digital.
Well,
because you could have a completely different distribution deal for physical media than you would for digital.
Where the argument comes from that is the theatrical window. Because the theatrical window, deals are being made to adjust it, but the fact as it stands is in terms of Warner Brothers and as a company and their deal with theaters, their standing with theaters, the 3-month theatrical window is still a thing. And
I'm just glad I don't have to be the one to deal with it.
Warner Brothers deal, what they're essentially doing is, because a bulk amount of the box office will be made in the first 4 weeks of any film. Like if you're tanking after 4 weeks, it's very rarely you're going to actually end up growing and making it back. A bulk, there's rare exceptions, right? Avatar didn't make a bulk of its budget in its first 4 weeks, but those happen once in a blue fucking moon. Those make most of their budget back in 4 weeks. HBO deal essentially cuts out the bulk of your potential profit by putting it on your streaming service for a month, yanking it away, and then going, Now you have to see it in theaters, or
I-
you wait like 6 weeks and see it again on HBO
That's
Max.
going to be cut by circumstance, though. See, because like the circumstance, the way that these theaters are operating, they can only operate at like 20-30% capacity anyway. So this is one of those things. This past weekend that we saw with Wonder Woman, there were a lot more people that went to the movie theaters this weekend
Yes.
that had in weeks past. Like I went to the theater to see Wonder Woman, and it was filled to a loud capacity. Like it wasn't filled to capacity, but it was filled. It had as many people who were allowed in there. So the people that are gonna go to the movie theater and take that option, they're still gonna do that regardless of if the movie's on HBO Max or not. So I don't think they're actually really losing much when it comes to these. Like with the smaller releases, yeah. But when it comes to something like Godzilla versus King Kong and Dune, I'm going to want to see Godzilla versus Kong in the theater. If I have the opportunity to see it in the theater, I'm going to see it in the theater.
I only disagree with that notion because with Wonder Woman, for one, this was like, other than like movies like The Croods and a bunch of smaller stuff, this was like the first blockbuster or the first movie that isn't PG that was going to be in theaters that, you know, would have been seen by a decent amount of people. And also it's on Christmas weekend. Yeah. Christmas weekend's always the busiest time of the year. Once you get past Christmas weekend, you know, you see those numbers drop big time. That's why I don't think this really is a telling sign.
And I was going to say, so we've been focusing a lot on specifically Godzilla versus Kong, but you were talking about like time framing of release. That plays into their stance on the deal of, look, we like, and when I talk about the theatrical model, right, they're basically saying, look, we were willing to put the film on streaming, but you didn't give us any kind of warning, and you're not offering us any kind of recuperation for profit. We tried to sell it for profit on our investment, and it's our film to sell. You hold the theatrical release, but it's our film to sell. You stepped in with what power you had, stopped that sale, reaffirmed to us that we were getting a theatrical release, and then went and made this call to do streaming and theatrical. So you are now busting our theatrical window and guaranteeing us no profit off the thing you're hoping will profit you.
Right.
It's a great move. Like it's a baller move on Warner Brothers' part.
Right. But what I'm saying is and again, this is just how I look at business. This is just how I look at business. There are smart business decisions, and there are business decisions that look smart but are dumb. Warner Brothers, if they don't sort their shit out quick, Warner Brothers are going to burn bridges they can't repair.
I don't agree.
Because they're also dealing.
Possibly lose in this situation.
Well, there's already a potential strike that's going on.
Think about it, right? Christopher Nolan has been a long-standing co-partner and worker with Warner Brothers. I can't think of a Chris Nolan film that wasn't Warner Brothers produced. Do you think he's going to work with them again?
No.
Like after all of this, do you really? And this is a director who they actually made an attempt to appease, but he is so disgusted by the business that they have now done with all of these other filmmakers.
He'll probably go to
Sony. I think they were getting sick of appeasing those type of directors. I think this is.
But those directors make you money.
Shift.
Yeah, Nolan has multiple billion-dollar films, and yes, those are Batman films. But it's not like his films since haven't made money. But that's what I'm saying. I think that's a stupid fucking business decision.
Yeah, and also
burn bridges with people. Like
there's only 3 major studios anymore.
The Directors Guild is already potentially going to be boycotting Warner Brothers as far as working with them.
They won't be able
There's
to
already
work.
been discussion.
They'll be out of work.
They'll go to Disney, Sony,
they'll go to other studios. They'll hire them.
Disney and Universal make a lot of movies, but here's the thing: there's only so many slots, only so many high-paying jobs. They don't have a choice.
And if
you're saying, right? So there's things you're saying. There's only 3 major studios. There's not just 3 major studios.
No, Paramount.
20th Century Studios is still going to be operating as if it were a full-time studio. It's not a division under. It's not a division under Disney. It's a full-time studio that just now happens to be owned by Disney. So all those jobs that were open, they're still going to be open.
You're also forgetting
but
about
I'm talking
Sony.
about talent. I'm talking about talent.
Directors, They won't be able to maintain that. They can say all they want. Here's the thing. They could say all that they want that we are going to boycott. The second somebody offers them a truckload of money to direct a movie, they're going to say,
Maybe
Well,
but
I-
that,
I
that's
was
profile
The thing
director.
is,
Not
but
the good ones
here's the
anyway.
thing about it is at
Nobody's
this point,
integrity is worth that much.
at this point, it becomes about how much do you honor yourself. I think there are people who value themselves that much
They're
because,
actors.
because here's the thing. No, but like we're talking about the filmmakers, right? Like the filmmakers specifically. Filmmakers who care, filmmakers who want to succeed, make films to be shown on the big screen. And what Warner Brothers has gone and done on every level is said, we don't care.
Nope. Yeah.
We'll do what we want. I think it's a dumb move because you're alienating
I hear
people,
you.
right?
And you're
Whether
losing
it's
the
from
best people in the
whether it's
business.
from the top of the line,
I see it. I see your point of view.
and I think it's
respect
I
your
think
point
it's a
of view.
dumb decision that Warner Brothers will come back. It'll come back to bite them. Because like
Wait
even
and see.
like well, I was gonna say I didn't even get to even Margot Robbie's comments this week, right? Where she basically was like, "Look, hopefully Warner Brothers sorts all of this out quickly and succinctly because they have been a studio that's always seemed to care about their talent."
Yeah.
And then add
But
on to
even
that.
if they do that, they'll win.
But then add on to that as somebody who is both a lead talent and a producer level co-worker with Warner Brothers, who is probably going to receive back end off of Suicide Squad had it gone to proper theatrical release. She was like, they still haven't reached out to me. I've heard nothing personally. No one I know has heard anything personally, but hopefully they'll do it soon. That's a terrible
obligation to do so.
If you signed a contract, you have an obligation.
People to work with them in the future.
But here's the thing. But here's the thing, Nikki. They set a terrible precedent.
I hear you.
No, but listen. You now have an obligation to these people because they honestly, if they want to go balls to the wall baller and say fuck you to everyone, then I respect. I disagree with it, but I can respect it at least on that level. They fucked up with Wonder Woman because now it's public knowledge that they reached out to Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot ahead of time. Both of them hated the idea of it going to streaming. Patty Jenkins even said she would guarantee walking from future projects. And they said, okay, how about we sit down and negotiate? And they got payouts for Wonder Woman if it had grossed $1 billion. So they were
that's what I'm saying. I don't think Warner Brothers cares about appeasing divas.
Then you're going to lose them. You're going to lose the best people in the business.
It's contractually owed money that you are ripping from people.
You're losing Nolan. You're losing Denny Villeneuve.
People will step in.
You're losing Denny. You're losing Christopher Nolan. You're losing if Tarantino decided to come back.
I think it's gonna wear because we're talking about future filmmakers too, right?
Look at the people they already have under contract. They have production deals with J.J. Abrams. They have production deals with James Gunn. They already have people locked into other contracts. So I think they know what they're doing. And if they do settle, what we'll be saying is great PR move. If they don't settle and win, then it's they've got all the money.
Everything that they've said and done so far shows to me that I don't think they do know what they're doing. I think they looked out for their pocket first, because let's look into it in other directions too, right? Let's not even talk about the big blockbusters. Let's talk about an upcoming film, right? Let's talk about like an upcoming film, for example, what's it called?
Talking about King Richard.
Huh?
And I don't mean to seem like I'm getting angry.
No. The Daniel Kaluuya film.
Judah.
Barney?
Judas and the Black Messiah. Judas and the Black Messiah. Yes. The director of that film, his name is Jacques King. It is a directorial debut. Think about how he may feel. Right? He is a director who was promised by a studio that his directorial debut about a story that is both personal and important to him on a racial level would be getting a wide release for an indie film, which is huge. And he put everything he had into that film just to get told, hey, man, like whatever we said before, fuck that, it's going to streaming. And no one, and the thing is, this movie is not going to make any money in theaters because no one's going to go see that movie in theaters if they have a choice of it at home.
No, of course not.
Only people like Matt might, because I know he likes seeing things in theaters. I certainly will, because I'm excited for it. I want to see it in a theater. But nobody's going to go see that movie. And now you have movies that have potential to do something that are going to lose out.
Yeah.
Does the director care more about making money off of his movie on the big screen, or does he care more about it hitting more eyes?
Some people do prefer making as much money as possible.
Some
Absolutely.
people
understand
prefer
that,
a check.
Feel about the theatrical experience more.
Some people prefer a
only-
check. Some people care about the theatrical
Yeah,
experience.
some people.
It's all about personal preference. That's
Warner
what
Brothers,
HBO
but that's the
Also-
thing though is the biggest
there we go.
directors, the biggest directors in the industry.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
biggest
it went
directors
all,
in the
like, weird on me.
industry
Yeah.
all care about the theatrical model. Like if you're alienating people who care about theaters, you're stuck working with fucking Michael Bay, and his feeling in Hollywood is starting to run out.
Yeah.
Transformers 5 didn't make a lot of money, and fucking Ryan Reynolds' shitty film ended up on 600 Ground ended up on Netflix for a reason.
Right. And also, I do want to bring this up too, because we were talking about contracts for a second. There's a Will Smith movie coming out towards the end of the year. King Richard said specifically in the contract it would be a theater-only release as far as it going out in theaters. Why?
It's a contract with
That's
that.
what-
Then they have
Yeah, and they said that was
And
going
they
on
fucked
HBO
that
Max,
now, too.
and they didn't think about that. They didn't think about us. They just seen the rushed out. And I will say I don't blame Warner Brothers for how they're doing their decision.
I
but-
think you're giving them a little too much credit for how much they thought about this.
I'm not blaming Warner Brothers. I'm blaming AT&T.
Mhm.
That's who I'm blaming. AT&T owns HBO Max. They own Warner Brothers. They own HBO in general. They own all these things. And before, like they bought HBO and everything, when these like phone companies, whatever, like Verizon or not Verizon, sorry, Xfinity and whatnot, when they were buying some of these big things, they like wanted the theaters gone, people to stay at home and watch their movies that way.
And I don't want that.
And that's what AT&T, Xfinity, all them, because Xfinity, they own Universal. When they first bought them, they actually were ahead of the curve on this because there was a movie called Hop that released both in theaters and on Xfinity if you had their cable provider. It was the James Marsden.
The bunny movie?
Oh yeah,
that was both in theaters and it was also on demand. You pay whatever, kind of like what Disney's doing with Ryan Last Dragon. So they were doing this, but their whole thing ahead of time was we don't want people going to the theaters. We want people staying at home and watching it on our thing. So I put this on AT&T because Warner Brothers can't do anything about it. Warner Brothers can't be like, well, we don't want to. It's AT&T.
It's about what you said, though, about the new up-and-coming director that has a dream of having his first theatrical debut. Guess what? Devin didn't have a high school graduation, a traditional high school graduation. Right. You lose things when there's a global pandemic.
Yeah, but if that was the agreement, you're going to lose that.
But here's the thing.
Everybody's going through it.
But here's things. The difference is passion and the future. You said you compared them not. Yeah. Let me talk. You compared them getting a theatrical release to Devin's high school graduation, and he literally went, which shows how much he truly cared about getting his ceremony, right? Obviously, I assume you didn't honestly care that much.
He cares about other things, like he hasn't gotten his party, he didn't get to go to prom. Like there's other things out there. No,
but here's what I'm saying. Your amount
of passion for something is not going to.
But Devin's not going back to that high school. He's done.
Yeah,
that director could have went back to Warner
Brothers. Devin's finished with high school. If we're comparing filmmaking to high school, Devin's Marty Scorsese. He's out the door. He's 1 foot out. He's going soon. Who knows how long he'll be working? He's like the Clint Eastwood of high school. He's basically done. He's just kind of going through the motions and waiting.
My sister had to give birth without her mother at her side. Is that a better one for you?
Okay, this got dark.
Still had to give birth.
But what I'm talking about is I'm talking about the future.
Not everybody's bitching about it.
I'm talking about future loyalty. Warner Brothers has shown that they give no fealty to the filmmaker, so why would they want to work with Warner Brothers again? I just think it's their option to alienate.
That it will be every individual's choice not to do that. But this is an announcement for 2021 where, honest to God, it is a responsible thing to tell people to watch movies at home.
Just delay them. They've been delaying movies for a while. Keep delaying.
Just delay.
It's a responsible, sure, but it doesn't matter if it's responsible. It's the lack of regard for anyone else involved, and that's what I'm getting. That's what this has been about from the very beginning. Warner Brothers has shown no regard for anyone else involved in any of these decisions.
They did not
Yes,
Other studios sure have.
they're a studio that's actually known
I'm just
for.
saying Warner Brothers in
No,
particular.
but that's the thing. Warner Brothers is a studio that's actually known for being very filmmaker friendly, right? Disney has gotten better over the years because Alan Horn moved from Warner Brothers to Disney, and that's when filmmaker relations started getting even better over there.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers is known for having good filmmaker relations. They do actually care. There's a reason they get so much recurring talent. They're known for taking care of their filmmakers. This is a very, very big move that for the immediate future will have a long-lasting impression on the film industry, and they did it with no regard for anyone else's opinion, thought, or what counts. And the problem is, feelings, if you want to take them out, sure, but you got a laundry list of contracts that you should either pony up and own up to, or you're going to piss a lot of people off and they're not going to want to work with you again, because now you have people who sign, like we're talking about money, right? These are people who signed contracts saying, I will do this movie for a cheaper wage than what I am worth because I believe in this film to make this much at a box office. And so I'm going to ask, if we make money, I would like a piece of that return. And Warner Brothers is also known for signing those deals left, right, and fucking center. We talked about last week with Todd Phillips' deal, where it was some ridiculous deal of like, you got paid peanuts to make Joker, but signed off like 40% of the box office.
But this clearly bothers you, what Warner Brothers is doing.
Because I'm a person that thinks, and this is all the business side of it, right? I think in business, I know like there's being savage in business and there's being fucking stupid.
No, I hear what you're
I think Warner Brothers is only thinking about the moment, and they're not thinking about how this is going to affect them in the future. And we're seeing that now.
Are you still going to give them money? Is what I'm asking.
What do you mean? Am I still going to give them money?
So like you're saying right now the actors, directors, the staff, people that work on these movies are going to boycott.
The directors. I don't know about the actors, but the Directors Guild is considering it.
Yeah, but isn't like what I'm saying isn't that a good thing that all these actors and directors and producers are saying no to that, and that Warner Brothers is just doing it anyway? They'll be gone. No, if this is true, they'll be gone. If it's not true, then everybody's a hypocrite.
It's not a good thing because they're losing some of, if not the best people in their positions in that business.
That thought process, that thought process right there is, in my opinion at least, stupid business. If someone in that boardroom said what you just said there, where it's like, listen, they're gonna boycott us, but you know what? If they cave, like
I'm not defending them.
I know you're not, but I'm saying
them. I'm just saying we'll see what happens.
My whole thing.
You're right. That is part of it, is we will see what happens. Yeah. It's just, I don't understand how there is no angle of this where Warner Brothers looks good. I think Warner Brothers looks bad or stupid from every angle.
Right. My whole thing.
If you don't like how somebody does business, don't conduct business with them. Like I don't like Chick-fil-A does some
but that's the thing though, is they didn't have that opportunity because Warner Brothers has never done anything like this before.
No,
this is totally out of character.
They have it in the future. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. They've been fooled once. Hopefully these filmmakers won't be fooled again.
Here's the thing, though. This is why it's a big problem. Because at first, when this came out, I was like, okay, I'm for the idea because I still believe, in the next couple of years, movie theaters are going to be gone. Yeah. At least what we see them right now. We might it might go into the arcade phase where you have a few here and there. But it with all this going on, doesn't look good for theaters in general. But here's why I'm against this whole decision. It's because they gave them they gave Legendary and probably some of the other people involved literally 30 minutes before telling people, hey, we're going to be doing this on HBO Max. What they should have done was sat them down.
They didn't. I was going to say, not to interrupt you, they didn't even give them 30 minutes.
Yeah,
a lot of people found out when we found out.
Yeah, I think Legendary was one that knew like 30, maybe a little less ahead of time. There's some people I think that knew, but there were a lot of people, like you said, that didn't know on time. But what they should have done, I'm going to mute you right now so I can get this out. What they should have done was bring every single person that they have contracts to do any of these movies with. They should have brought them, sat them down, and negotiated with them. Give them the opportunity to either be like, okay, I'm cool with this, I totally understand, or been, good like you normally are with your directors, actors, whatnot. It would be mostly the directors you would conversation with about delaying the movie. Christopher Nolan wanted his movie to be a theatrical release. I would say 80% of the directors to 95% of the directors they don't care about, obviously they care about money, but what's more important to them is the theatrical experience, because that's what got them into filmmaking originally. They should have given them an opportunity to negotiate to where either we can delay this movie longer, or we can, maybe do like a Wonder Woman situation where they make $1 billion, because now they're in a situation where James Gunn, Margot Robbie, and their talent in general, were discussion of, okay, like this much, here you go, this is what we're projected to make. Like Wonder Woman, I think, to make. Now all these directors, actors, they're gonna be like, well, we want to be paid like this made $1 billion. So this just opens up a can of worms. They should have negotiated, sat down, and you would have avoided this problem from the get-go. They would look good from that point. That's what they should.
I think Warner Brothers wanted the problem.
But it's still, you if you're going to run a business like Warner Brothers, you should never want the problem. PR is good PR, as we found out with some things of recent. You should want to end up looking like the good guy to the people you work with, because not only are you going to bring some of the best talent back, you're going to bring more people in. Because there's people like me. Let's say I become a director. I won't. But let's say I somehow become a movie director. I stumble upon that, like Michael Cera stumbled upon becoming an actor. Let's just say I stumble upon that. Knowing this, I'm not going to want to work with Warner Brothers.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Here's what I want to say to that. There's a difference between being disappointed, and there's a difference between being entitled. And I'm not just saying in a legal sense entitled. I'm more saying like in a legal sense, because like that Will Smith movie, it's a theatrical release. Like that's in the contract. That is legally entitled to happen. When it comes to stuff like that, it's disappointing, and I feel horrible for those people. But Warner Brothers needs to do something this year.
But here's what I'm saying, right? So
at a time, and don't be like dicks and be like, "Oh, hey, everybody, we're going to release these on HBO Max too." You don't do that. You're going to lose people. As I get unfocused, you're going to lose people. You don't want to lose the best talent in the world, okay? Because sure, some people that are just wanting to get their foot in the door, okay, they might work with Warner Brothers, even though Warner Brothers might do this to them. But
it's a risk.
You're losing, but you're going to lose them if they make a good movie. Where other studios will be like, "Oh yeah, you made this movie, we want to give you a job." You're losing the best talent in the world. Why would you want to do that? It doesn't make sense at all. You should want to keep a Christopher Nolan on board, because he will make what some people consider, let's say every 2 or 3 movies, some people consider that his movies after the second or third to be Oscar contenders. So let's say you have Batman, Dark Knight Rises. Okay, now you get Dunkirk. You get a couple movies. Okay, now you get Inception. Blah blah blah. They're losing potential Oscar-nominated movies directed by him.
Nolan, Tarantino, Scorsese. Who's the next them?
I don't know, but they won't work with Warner Brothers if they do things like this.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, they'll move on. Yeah, and then they'll move on.
Yeah, but there's no point in getting a start with somebody and then moving on to something, because essentially, and again, it's not that they did it. I just think there are smarter ways they could have done it. Like
a good one too. Like with the salary arbitration thing, and because it's really like a team having a great farm system, and then it's like, nah, screw you. We got more up and comers. Because if that's the way that they're looking at it, and we're like, we're moving towards.
But that's the thing is, I don't think that's how they're looking at it. I think you've thought about it more than Warner Brothers has, and I mean that quite honestly, because the amount of messy fallout that this has brought upon different aspects of Hollywood. Like, do you think if Warner Brothers really thought about this, there'd be threats of a Directors Guild strike? Do you think they wouldn't? Especially because
I think we've talked about this more than they have.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying though. Is like it just, and that's what I'm saying. I
that's
guess
why I'm just saying, let's wait and see. Because
you're right about that. But
will always decide where money's gonna go to stuff
But,
like that.
a lot of these people, especially in like movies like Kong versus Godzilla, Suicide Squad and whatnot, they're gonna look at those like these can make $1 billion. We want to be paid like these make $1 billion.
Right.
And Warner Brothers might be like, well, we don't think it's gonna make $1 billion. That's going to cause issues too. That just opens up that, and that's because the whole
because the first and I'll fact check myself, but the first Wonder Woman did not make $1 billion, and I think only one film in the DCEU has made $1 billion, and that was Aquaman, which had no direct involvement from Wonder Woman.
Suicide Squad made $1 billion.
No, it did not.
It made like 700 some mil. It made less than Batman v Superman.
That was like number one for so long that summer.
Yeah, that was in August, though. We were getting into the movies that didn't make much.
Suicide Squad made 746.8.
It overperformed.
Yeah, it should have made 200 at most. But yeah,
that's the real debate. Suicide Squad, I love it.
You can love it. That's
but
fine.
Yeah, so I guess to kind of wrap it up, I guess that's just my stance from it. Is I think this was a very, very poorly thought out move, and I think we are now seeing the repercussions of it. And I think the last thing I was going to throw in is I think there were other ways you could have handled this, even if you didn't warn people, where they would have come off more respectfully. Like if we talk about respecting the theatrical window, let's say they had said all of these movies will go to theaters, but after the first month of release, you got 30 days, and then they're going to go straight to HBO Max. They're still going to run in theaters if you want them, but they're going to go to HBO Max. And so now you've put people in a position of, do I wait 30 days or do I go see it now? I think statistically you would get more people who would be willing to pay to go to a theater if it's safe. You would be getting more people would be willing to go to a theater and pay to see it than they would right now, because I don't like putting these movies on HBO Max unless you're somebody like me, where, like I talked about this before the show, I have a buddy who's coming back from basic training. I'm going to wait to see Wonder Woman in a theater with him because he really wants to see it in a theater. And so we're going to go, because we have theaters open, we're going to go see it in a theater, which means I'm going to have to wait maybe a week or two to see the movie. I don't mind. I can avoid spoilers. I'm cool with that. But that's how long I'm going to have to wait to see the movie in order to, be a good friend, essentially. Most people aren't going to have the self-restraint I have. And so by putting it on HBO Max day one, like I was talking to my dad yesterday. My dad loves seeing these big blockbuster movies in theaters. And I said to him, or this was on Thursday maybe, I said to him, when maybe in like a week or two when it's died down, would you like me to get on and look at tickets for the family so we can go see Wonder Woman? Because we all saw the first one together in theaters. And he goes, why am I paying to go see the movie in theaters when it's on HBO tomorrow? He's like, you pay for HBO, so you got me a ticket to the movie.
And that's what it is right there. That's why I don't feel bad I don't get that wrong. I feel very bad for them. But that's why I'm not as I think bothered by everybody should be nice, because here's the reality of it. Everybody isn't nice. Like you and me could go to the movie theaters and see Wonder Woman, but here's the thing. All those other people, they are perfectly fine letting those filmmakers rot so that they can watch their movie on their TV at home.
Right, yeah. But the thing is, like Warner Brothers made, and then this is where a lot of the anger I have stems from, because I think Warner Brothers made terrible business decisions in how they treated one film versus how they treated 17 films.
They're like Roger Goodell at the NFL.
Warner Brothers, which if I can find it specifically, I want to. I think
we can all agree that this is an inconceived, like an ill-conceived attempt to destroy that release window.
I potentially, yeah. Okay. That's why.
That's all I'm saying is that they're trying to destroy that release window.
They want theaters gone in general, because why give certain people, let's say, 20 to 40%, depending on what the movie is, when we could have that 20 to 40% and we could just put it on our own streaming service where we can make the money that way.
It's a monthly subscription. Some people like monthly subscriptions. Some people like buying it right there.
Right. But it just, you gotta, I mean, like I said, I think theaters are going to be gone like how we know them in the next few years. I truly believe that. I think we're going to
stop AMC.
it just like I think AMC. I think the big theater chains are gone. I think we'll get some independent theaters, but it's going to be pretty much done at that point. But even though that's probably going to be the case, and they want to get these movies out by then, like I said, you got to sit down and talk with your talent, because if you don't, as soon as any of those contracts are up, they're gone. You're never going to have them again.
Too. I didn't think of that. You're acting like it's going up against like a doomsday clock, and it's going to strike midnight, and theaters are just going to be gone. I never thought of it that way, too, because like you said, getting into directing because you want to see it on that big screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I ran the math because I wanted to make sure it checked out what I thought. So this is why what Warner Brothers did with Wonder Woman is dangerous. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, not including Wonder Woman 84's box office, right? Because we don't even have U.S. box office totals yet. Right. So not counting Wonder Woman's box office, there are 8 films within the DCEU. When you average the box office of all 8 of those films together, it comes out to around $685 million. Only one film has made $1 billion. The first Wonder Woman made 821, and they were essentially on a downward trend because Wonder Woman made 821, Justice League made 657. Obviously, Aquaman was the outlier at 1.1 bill, but then Shazam made 365, and Birds of Prey, which had a large bulk of a release window prior to shutting down, only made 201 million. So DC films on an overall in the DCEU were on a downward trend in terms of box office. They average out to under 700 million. But you paid Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins just so they wouldn't be pissed off and shit talk you. You paid them off as if that film was going to make $1 billion when all signs point to it wasn't, especially now that we know the reviews, and the reviews are less than stellar, which does tend to hurt a film's chances at making $1 billion.
And then with everything going on,
now, because now you've essentially given, because this is around the average of what those monster films are making. It's maybe slightly lower, but if this is your average box office, and you're suggesting something could make $1 billion at this rate, Kong easily has an argument for anyone who has a back end on that, saying, well, we could have made $1 billion, where Godzilla and Kong, we have 2 different audiences that could come together if they, let's say
really
some.
It's the viral landscape that really needs to be more emphasized here, because if something happens, like if this vaccine actually works and like those other strands are like down and like things start getting back to normal, I really do think there's going to be this hunger just to get out of the house.
I think look, whatever you believe, I think there's going to be a ton of people still going to wait, because this, because usually it takes, quite a while for a vaccine to come out once it goes through all the phases, whatnot. This seemed like it was pushed out, just like that. So usually you'll have people waiting on any other vaccines, like, well, we want to make sure it's safe. I'm not gonna, end up getting some weird side, some weird, like my face drooping down, like some of the people who only 4 or 3 people who actually had their face droop down. I got it. But still, people are, originally, when, before this actually happened, there's going to be people, that were like, okay, there's this weird vaccine. I know it's been tested. Let's wait a little bit. Let's see how 100,000 to 1 million people get it. Now you have this COVID vaccine coming in, where it just seemed like it came out of nowhere. That's even more people are going to wait. That's why I honestly think it's going to last the entire year, because. Well, and there are scientists that are still saying that if even with the vaccine, we're still going to have to wear masks and, social distance until into 2022. So it's not just going to end like that.
Before we go down another rabbit hole,
I don't
do
remember.
you guys want to agree to disagree and then move on to a slightly happier topic?
Sure.
I'm ready to go to bed, but what's the topic?
All right. Well, the next video of topics, we have a couple of different movies this week had some announcements in terms of different stages of development, and I picked a couple out to mention here. Let's talk about it. Our first set of mini stories this week all focus on announcements made around projects that are in different stages of active development. Our first movie-related announcement this week is George Miller confirmed his long-in-development spin-off to his Mad Max franchise, Furiosa, has officially entered pre-production. The movie was confirmed earlier this week to be a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, and it was announced to star Anya Taylor-Joy in the role that was originated by Charlize Theron. Miller also confirmed actors Chris Hemsworth and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II will be added in co-starring roles that are currently undisclosed. Miller will once again direct the film and will co-write alongside his Fury Road scribe Nico Latoris, and the movie is set to release on June 23rd, 2023. Our second film-related announcement comes in the form of news about Sing 2, the sequel to the 2016 Illumination film that has entered post-production. We now know plot details and casting details. The plot details include the synopsis of Koala Buster Moon, who, after the events of the first film, is looking to take his talent show to bigger and better places, specifically a mass stage owned by media mogul Jimmy Crystal. In order to make this happen, he'll need a mix of both old and new talents and the aid of a former Lion rock star, Clay Calloway. Matthew McConaughey is set to return as Buster Moon and will be joined by Bobby Cannavale as Jimmy Crystal and U2 frontman Bono as Clay Calloway. The film will also see most of the stars from the first film return, including Reese Witherspoon, Scarlett Johansson, Seth MacFarlane, Nick Kroll, Taron Egerton, Tori Kelly, and writer-director Garth Jennings, who will write and direct this film as well. Alongside Cannavale and Bono, new cast members include Letitia Wright, Eric Andre, Chelsea Peretti, and singers Pharrell Williams and Halsey. The film is set to be released December 22nd, 2021. Our final story is Halloween 2018 director David Gordon Green is in talks to continue his partnership with Blumhouse and producer Jason Blum in the form of an Exorcist reboot. Gordon Green, who is currently working on the second and third films in his new Halloween trilogy, is in talks to take over the Exorcist reboot once he has finished production on the two films. Not much is known about the movie, except that it is said to be a complete reboot from the original Exorcist and will not follow any story from the original film, any of its sequels, or its recent TV adaptation. Green's second film in his current Halloween trilogy, Halloween Kills, is set to release on October 15th.
Yes. Okay. So the kid just had an interesting question. Do you have lungs? He just asked if you had lungs.
Because I can just go. Yeah.
And Devin had something to say too about Furiosa.
It's Furiosa, not Furiosa.
But Beer, I want to talk about Sing 2. My God, dude, I don't want to see or talk about this movie, and I just want consensus. You don't want to see or talk about that movie, right?
Sing 2 is going to be great.
Honestly, okay, so the first Sing was a really weird commodity because no, hold on, seriously. So I honestly think the first Sing, I mean, it's honestly one of the better Illumination films. Oh, yeah. It really is, and I think part of that is the creativeness behind how they go about executing it, because a lot of people may not realize, as I said, the writer and director is Garth Jennings, who is most known for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's who's behind this film, and whether or not you like it, clearly you don't. I think you can agree it does bring a certain level of creativity to how it delivers its story, and I would agree that Sing does something very similar. It's a basic story, but I think it does deliver it in a way, like the fact that it made me care about some of its characters by the end says a lot, considering it really isn't a great film. This movie does I'm not kidding. I honestly am curious to see where this goes. I think the cast of the first one was really solid. Like McConaughey, Taron Egerton, surprisingly Seth MacFarlane, all very good performances.
In that movie again.
What happened?
His name in the movie.
Who? McConaughey's name?
Yeah.
Buster Moon.
That's right.
It's a kids movie, Nikki. What the fuck do you expect?
I love that. That's hilarious.
It's great. I love it.
I hate that. I hate the movie, but Buster Moves. That's hilarious.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, but honestly, the thing that interests me the most about this, as someone who honestly does like, as someone who likes when musicals get creative, one of the more interesting, one of the more interesting things about the first one, at least for me, was the musical numbers and how the actors who actually were known singers or could sing a little more interpreted musicals. Like we got to see Seth MacFarlane actually do like a Sinatra song, but a little slightly more modern interpretation of it. Taron Egerton basically auditioned for his role of Elton John in that movie. And I think that's a great version of I'm Still Standing. The fact that this movie is now including actual musicians, I think could do something for its soundtrack, right? Because obviously, one of the supposedly, as part of this announcement, one of the co-leads of the film is going to be U2's Bono, which would make sense that Bono and probably Bono and the Edge. What happened? I can't hear what you're saying.
Right original songs for the movie, because that was my biggest problem with like the marketing of the last movie, is that it's just a bunch of actors singing songs that we've already heard but better.
Strange Magic?
Yeah, so like that was my biggest problem with like the marketing of the first one. Like not even like considering the story, because they weren't really marketing it off of story. They were marketing, hey, look, animals singing your favorite songs, and like that.
And to be fair, when I talk about story in that film, the overarching movie doesn't bring a whole lot of steady plot. It pretty much is like American Idol the movie. But I mean, in terms of like, they give Taron Egerton's character the issues with his father, played by Peter Serafinowicz. You know, you have Seth MacFarlane. You have Seth MacFarlane and his thing of like, he's playing this dishonest character who you want to come through and actually be a good person, but it's like watching essentially like Brian Griffin with a Sinatra accent is essentially the character they wrote for him. And so I won't spend too much more time on it, but the fact that they're adding people to this cast like Bono, like Pharrell, even though I'm not a huge fan of her music, like Halsey, it shows that they do have some kind of direction of, even if they're not completely writing original songs, they clearly have a more musically inclined direction, to the point of literally getting professional singers to come in and be as a part of this film.
What was that one with Kelly Clarkson that came out like last year?
Ugly Dolls?
Yeah, I prefer something like that, where it's a garbage movie, but at least they're trying to make original like music to it, because you can go in the theater, and that's another one. Musicals I love seeing in the theater. But when it comes to like stuff like it's the cover thing that bothers me with saying,
like
because
musicals.
Because it is like you're saying, it's like you're watching American Idol but animated. But now Furiosa, I don't know if you guys think the same thing about this, but if Charlize Theron is not attached, I don't care.
I mean, with Furiosa, I just got thrown off because of what Chris Diaz said in the comments about there being a color purple musical movie.
Yeah. So the announcement of the Furiosa, the articles with the announcement, that came with other announcements of other Warner Brothers films. One of them being a new adaptation of The Color Purple.
I just can't imagine watching A Color Purple, a movie that is supposed to be super serious about some really serious things,
as a musical,
where we have them singing, "I'm being beaten by this man with." It just throws me off.
Also, and I see where he's coming from with it. I saw him put it in one of the comments. Honestly, I kind of hope Cynthia Erivo isn't in this, because I've already seen her play a similar role, and I wasn't a big fan of Harriet. I think it's fine at best.
I like her though.
Did she get nominated for Best Actress?
Did.
Okay,
She did.
I thought she did. I knew either her. I think her and the song got nominated.
Yeah, which the song I liked. The song I understood, but I wasn't a fan of that movie.
Right.
But yeah, so honestly, I am interested in Furiosa because I think it's the trio. I get what you're saying of like, oh, if it's not Charlize, I don't care. But I think Chris Hemsworth is a good addition. I mean, God help him, he needs a great block. Yeah. What happened?
Chris Hemsworth as Furiosa.
Yes, of course. But Chris Hemsworth is a great addition. I think he has been the best part of so many bad movies that I hope this is a good movie for him to really shine in outside of Thor. And Yahya Abdul-Mateen, I think, is a great addition to the cast as well. as somebody who wasn't the biggest fan of Aquaman, I thought he was one of the better parts. I think taking him out of the movie early was a mistake. And so, because as much as I like Patrick Wilson and a lot of other things, he was not doing it for me as Orm in that movie. I just could not care less about that plot line. But he was one of the better parts of that film. And I've heard he's brilliant on Watchmen. I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited.
They suck.
And honestly, like I just think he's a really solid actor who, again, could use a role like this to really give him exposure.
That Candyman too, right?
And what happened?
Candyman, has that one even come out yet?
No, that's next year as well.
It's next year, okay, because that was supposed
to. Peel pushed it. Yeah, they pushed it and delayed it.
Delaying it is always the right move.
And so. But yeah, he's in that as well. And that movie honestly looks really, really good too. So, and hopefully it's not like Antebellum and it's closer to an actual Jordan Peele movie.
Looks good. Antebellum. So you mentioned that you saw that since the last time we talked about it.
No, I haven't. But just based off the reviews, I can't.
Yeah.
No, it is on my list. Quite honestly, I was just waiting for the rental price to go down. But I do want to see it just because movies like that make me curious, even if they're bad. Yeah. Like I'll watch them. But when I heard it was bad, I was like, I don't know if I want to pay $20 for it. I've already paid $20 for Trolls.
Yeah, I didn't think it was bad. I think it was
takes a minute, but
not even that it takes a minute. It's even the synopsis, the description for that movie. It takes 60 minutes for that description to kick in.
Yeah, it's one of those. Okay.
It's hard to advertise a movie like that. It would have been a better episode of The Twilight Zone.
And that's what it looked like when I saw the trailer. Like the whole apparent transportation between dimension thing. It looks like a Twilight Zone, a more horror focused Twilight Zone. Which
more than that. It's not.
I was gonna say I have to assume there's a little bit, especially because of we've seen what Peele did with Get Out. I can only assume if he's behind something, it's got a little something deeper to it.
Yeah.
But anyways, so, and the thing is, with Furiosa, to get back to that for a second, it's not Charlize, but I think Anya Taylor-Joy is one of the best up-and-coming actresses we have. It's going to be a weird reference. Matt, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you've had the chance to see it yet, but the Playmobil movie.
I keep forgetting to watch it.
Okay, so bear with me. Bear with me.
That's a different movie. Playmobil. Don't watch it.
The Playmobil movie, with the little Playmobil toys, right? Anya Taylor, I didn't know she was in it because the trailers advertised it like it's some kind of Daniel Radcliffe spy adventure. By the way, it's not that. The trailers completely false advertised that movie. But Anya Taylor-Joy plays is that her name? Did I say her name?
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah. I was doubting myself for a minute.
Daniel Radcliffe is a spy. That sounds awful.
But she was in the Playmobil movie, and she's the lead in it. And that movie, it's not, honestly, in my opinion, it's not atrociously bad. You can tell they cared. They just didn't have the capacity to make a good movie.
Too.
What happened?
She kicks ass in New Mutants too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though, right? So whether it's, and honestly, I think her performance in Playmobil is a standout as to why I think she's a great actress, because that movie is very flat. The tone definition is just flat.
Right.
Jim Gaffigan's in it, and Jim Gaffigan is, his tone of voice sounds like he's doing a stand-up routine. He's clearly not trying. The only two people who are trying truly are her and Radcliffe. They're actually not bad in it. I do think they put in good performances. But yeah, Chris brought it up in the comments as well. Queen's Gambit, she's amazing in. New Mutants, I heard she was good, and even though that movie's not very good, she was great. She was great in The Witch. She was great in Split. She was great in sequel to Split. Oh, fuck me, Glass, which was terrible, but she was good in it. And so that's what I'm saying is she's another one, kind of like Hemsworth, actually. Not everything she's been in has hit in terms of the movie itself, but I haven't seen her give a bad performance yet. And I'm including Playmobil in that, which is weird to say because it's a weird movie and it shouldn't have anything good in it, but it does.
She's also great in Thoroughbreds.
Thoroughbreds, that's another one. Yes, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's amazing, and it's on, again, long list of things I need to see eventually, but I've heard it's great. And I liked his follow-up, Bad Education on HBO. It was the same director, and I love that movie, so that makes me want to see Thoroughbreds more. I'd recommend it. Jackman's brilliant in it.
Nice.
Sorry, Nikki, I know you don't like dramas.
Oh no! I was just the kid looked bored, so I was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he doesn't like dramas either. He shouldn't be watching what Thoroughbreds is.
Yeah, true.
No, so I actually think this movie has potential to be good. I still think George Miller's got it. I haven't seen a bad movie from him yet, and I'm fucking counting happy feet. Those movies are better than they have any right to be. Yeah, I think he's still got it. I think he's passionate about it. I don't think he'd still be working on it all these years later if he didn't truly care. And I think that there's something here, and I think this is a good trio to start with. The other one, if you guys want to touch on it briefly, the idea of the Exorcist reboot. Anybody here interested or care about that with David Gordon Green, the director of Halloween?
I mean, I'll be curious to see it, but I just don't know a whole lot about it yet.
Right, and the only thing they've said is, and because Chris commented on it, the video got cut off a little bit at the end, so I don't know if it came through completely. The movie is not a sequel. So like David Gordon Green's Halloween films are a sequel to the first film. So it's just another new timeline of like first film, Halloween, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. This is a complete and utter reboot. We're taking it from scratch one and go.
Okay. I mean, Exorcist hasn't had a lot of great movies, mainly about exorcism and whatnot.
Yeah.
There was that one movie that came out with Michael Pena and I think Joel McHale's in it too from a few years back.
I'll find the name. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Was it an exorcism movie or a movie about an exorcism?
It's about an exorcism.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. A lot of exorcism movies haven't really been that great.
A lot of exercise out there, guys.
Right. But look, I mean, I like that director, though. I thought he did good with the first Halloween. I didn't think it was a great movie by any means, but I thought for what it was and comparing it to other movies in that world and whatnot, based on Halloween and that franchise in general, it was one of the better ones. But, like I said, there haven't been a lot of really good movies about exorcism and whatnot. So I think, with a director like that, I think we have a better chance of getting one. So hopefully it ends up being good.
Are you talking about? Okay, so I think there are two. Are you talking about the one with Joel McHale, Eric Bana, and Edgar Rodriguez or Edgar Ramirez?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deliver Us from Evil with Scott Derrickson.
Yep, that's it.
So Michael Pena actually did have an exorcism movie called The Vatican Tapes, but he's not in Deliver Us from Evil.
Okay.
Just kind of it's on topic, off topic type thing.
No, go ahead.
I challenge an exorcism movie to scare me because that's just one of those things of like, okay, this person's like clearly like
it's all about how much you buy into the belief of it. I think is what plays into the scary.
Do movies scare you guys? Like, do you still get scared from movies?
I've never been scared. Well, I have been scared of Norm of the North, but that's a completely different thing.
You've been scared of what?
Norm of the North, but that's a completely different one.
I have a Stockholm Syndrome relationship with those. I think they're getting better.
I'm gonna watch them.
It's like, listen, man, just trust me. By the third one, you're like, this isn't a 0 out of 10.
It's a 1 out of 10.
But, yeah, exactly, and that's an improvement.
But I mean, but no, I mean, realistically, like with movies with the intention of scaring you, I haven't been scared. I mean, if I would have saw The Exorcist back when it originally came out, if I was around at that time, maybe that would have done it, because I know that scared a lot of people at that point. Jaws was another one that scared a lot of people. It just depends on the time. The only movies that really got close to actually legit scaring me was the first Conjuring and then probably the first Insidious as well.
So James Wan.
Yeah, James Wan. He basically did.
I was gonna say in terms of all right, so I don't know how you guys are, but I think it's like a like a bodily issue I have where I can watch, like, I don't watch horror movies in theaters because I can watch a horror movie and it can be the worst, most predictable thing you've ever seen, to where you're calling the jump scares before they happen, but because of how loud they crank up the audio, I just have that reaction to it, and I don't like that experience. So I'll usually wait and watch horror movies at home. So like The Conjuring's a great example of a movie that is legitimately creepy and it brings that tone to it, and Juan's a master of it. The first Saw is the only one I've seen, and it's the only one I will watch because it's the only one that doesn't drift into gore porn.
Right.
And I think he does it really well. Yeah. I haven't seen Gordon Green's Halloween, but I've heard it was solid at the very least.
Jamie Lee, there's a really good bathroom sequence that's pretty like free as far as saying like movies aren't scary. That's close like to getting there.
And yeah, but I was gonna say like one of the last horror movies I saw in theaters, because I got pushed into it by friends, was I saw It Chapter 2 in theaters. And like, for example, that was a movie that when they were pulling the jump scares, I was physically reacting to it, but nothing I saw in that movie actually scared me in terms of it being a horror film. Nothing scared me. There was nothing. The CGI images don't get to me. The Exorcist does creep me out. I have seen the original Exorcist, and like, especially if you see the cut where she does the spider walk, like that shit's fucking horrifying to look at.
Devin does that every day.
The thing is, he's got the right bone structure. I could believe it.
Right.
I was gonna say, in terms of other horror movies in the last couple of years that have like, I was gonna say, Don't Breathe scared me, but I don't know if we'd count the stuffing her with a turkey baster full of sperm horror directly. Yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, that happens.
Dude,
what?
He does that too. Nikki fills up a turkey baster with sperm and chases Devin with it.
I have so many sound bites for next week's show.
Did you? Yeah. Did you not know that's a thing? Have you ever seen this movie?
I'm never going to see that movie now.
Yeah. So do you remember it though? It's the one with Stephen Lang where he plays the blind guy and he's chasing the kids through the house. Yeah. At the end of the twist in the movie. The twist, don't worry, I'm not gonna say anything too terrible. The twist in the movie is he ends up like catching her and holding her captive, and it turns out the reason he is the way he is because years ago his daughter was killed, and so his way of getting a new child back is he basically, before he brings her into the room, he finishes into a turkey baster and tries to forcefully take her and stick it up her and inject it into her.
Yeah.
How is that not that bad? What did you hear? That is the worst thing I've ever heard.
I was saying that's one of the more horrifying things I've seen. And they play it for horror. It's really well done.
I don't want to ever hear that again.
Look, sometimes you gotta get the job done one way or the other.
Chris makes a great point because it came out this year. Invisible Man did have some creepy moments in it. Invisible Man did a good job.
Am I one of the only people who didn't think that was remotely scary at all?
I didn't think it was too scary, but I think scary is not the best word.
Psychological.
I didn't even think it was creepy. I thought it was a good thriller, but that's about as far as I go.
It's a good thriller. I would say like some of the imaging, like if you're not expecting it, some of the imaging works. Like I think the imaging of like when she chucks the can of paint and he's right there and you see the white show up, like it's a jump scare obviously, but I think that's a good just brief creepy moment. I would say the other one that stands out is the throat slit scene, especially because it's so quick and it's in her hand, and it's like if you don't know that that's coming, that is a moment that'll make you like trying to process what's happening.
That's a good jump scare.
It's jump scares that I think go a little beyond the actual jump scare.
But that's subtle. I like that because the jump scare, for me, the jump scare came when I saw the knife, not when. It's like you see the knife, and it's like, oh, it's a realization. Like, oh shit, it's too late.
And that's what I'm saying, right? So like
Right.
someone may jump at the notion of like seeing the throat slit,
Yeah.
but it's not scary, but it's a
Right.
jump scare with clearly more thought put into it, which I think plays back to the fact that it is Lee Wanell, who is a protege of James Wan essentially.
Right.
I think that does play into it a little bit.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Right.
So
I
did
just-
you guys ever? And I don't want to get this too long because we're hitting 2 hours now.
I was gonna say we don't have to. I can bring up. I won't play the video for the sake of making it quicker, but I can bring up briefly surmise the last two topics if you guys want to do them quickly before we leave. But go ahead. What you were gonna say?
Did you? I think I may have left before you talked. Did you guys hit on the Tom Cruise stuff last week?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
All
Yeah.
right, I just wanted to say that's awesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like it's like Les Grossman in real life. So
That's what. See, we had the whole HBO discussion, and everything was heated, and that was where we all came together. Of like, yeah, no, this was warranted. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I went to bed, so next time don't do the HBO discussion for so long, and I'll get to the good stuff, and I'll
You
be
know
able
what,
to do my
Chris,
soundbite.
you're absolutely right. That Blair Witch was fucking awful. I like Adam Wingard as a filmmaker, but that movie was atrocious. Funny enough, Adam Wingard, the director of Godzilla vs. Kong.
Huh. Full circle. All right.
Full circle. So here we go. So I won't play the video. I'll just quickly surmise everything. So the first topic was focused on Thor Ragnarok, Thor Love and Thunder.
Keep doing that.
I keep doing it. Basically, we learned two things about the film. The first thing that we learned is that the film is going to be shot using the Stagecraft Unreal Engine technology that The Mandalorian was filmed with. Taika obviously has experience because he worked on an episode of The Mandalorian, so they're going to film that. They're going to film that very much the same way they filmed The Mandalorian. I believe, if it's not already built, they're working on getting another stage in Australia where they're going to film. We also learned this week that now they're not 100, or not all of them. I think like maybe one of them is. They're not all 100% confirmed by Marvel, but we do know that Chris Pratt, Vin Diesel, and Pom Clemente are all in Australia, most likely preparing to film as a part of the movie. Meaning that in some capacity, the Guardians of the Galaxy will most likely be a part of Thor: Love and Thunder. One of the things I noted is we don't yet have confirmation on Dave Bautista or Sean Gunn. Bradley Cooper really doesn't matter at this moment. It'd be Sean Gunn who'd have to be there in person to film it because that's how they've done everything thus far. So we don't know if they're going to be there or if it'll just be some of the characters and somewhere elsewhere. What happened?
I think Disney has been honestly a little weak when it comes to raccoon rights. I want an actual raccoon.
You want a raccoon? You want to take Sean Gunn's job away from him? And give it to a raccoon?
That way, no. I saw Sean Gunn from across the room one time.
Sean Gunn seems like they seem like nice guys.
We saw him from across the room. He was like right next to a booth with Dean Cain.
Oh, nice.
He was at a Comic-Con, but we were going to pay to talk to him.
Yeah, so that was, just to run it briefly. So that was the first part of that story is the technology they'll be filming with and the Guardians possibly in Thor. And the other part is we learned this week that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association have allowed Hamilton to submit their film for consideration for awards, and that they have definitely submitted for Best Picture Musical Comedy, and they've submitted both Lin-Manuel and Leslie Odom Jr. for Best Actor Musical or Comedy. And the belief is that if Disney can pull off nominations here, they're going to try and push for it at other award shows. Obviously, the headline Oscars for Hamilton, the big gun being they would want to push for potential Oscar nominations, as the Oscars don't have rules in place for a film like this. Essentially, their argument is this is a specialized filmized version of the play that deals in things like camera angles and shots and framing that you wouldn't get from the actual natural play itself. So if we're treating it like that, then the film, and it would be eligible under current rules, speaking that it was supposed to release in theaters. That's very clear and in the open. So that's the other piece of this story. So those are the last things we can talk about before we log off briefly. Your face is saying you don't give a shit about Hamilton, Nikki. So jump into Thor. What do you think?
No, it's just I was thinking of it because everything you swing me because everything that you said before I was thinking, oh no, fuck Hamilton. But then right when you said that it was very clear that it was going to get a theatrical run, that made me think, okay, well, they were going to be doing this anyway. Because at first I was thinking, well, it's its own standalone Disney Plus special thing, and then it made me think of, like, the HBO Max West Wing thing. It's like, are they going to submit that for Oscars? Because it's technically the same thing. So that was going to get a theatrical release. That
and Hamilton is it's a 2 hours and 40 something minutes. It is a full theatrical length film, and it's actually it had a what happened?
Did they record it before or after COVID?
So it was actually recorded a couple of years ago. It was recorded shortly after the Hamilton crew, the original Hamilton team, left Broadway. It was recorded shortly after then in a, I believe it was like a partial capacity filled theater. Like they did some empty shows just to get the acting, and then they did some reaction shots and stuff from audiences. But it was shot, Chris put it there, 2016. So they shot it in 2016, and Disney purchased the rights to the access to the footage to then distribute it because they promised theatrical distribution. Obviously, Lin-Manuel probably agreed to go to Disney Plus because what do they care at that point? It's large exposure, and it was a great marketing tool. And he's in, Lin-Manuel is in bed with Disney, let's say,
He is in bed with them. Yes, he is in bed with Walt Disney.
He is in bed. He is in bed with the corpse of Walt Disney. He's we talked about during the Disney Summit, he's writing music for Encanto, their upcoming animated film. He did stuff for Moana. He's doing live action stuff. In the Heights is technically with Disney now, and probably other adaptations will be with Disney.
The other day, that looks awesome.
When
Jimmy Smith walks into that convenience store and starts singing, I'm like, is that Jimmy Smith's? Yes.
Yeah.
What happened? Jimmy Smith's is singing.
Jimmy Smith isn't in the Heights.
And Corey Hawkins is in. It's a 24.
Hawkins is in it. Yeah. But go ahead, Matt. Looks like you're gonna say something.
So, look, I like Hamilton. I think it's a good play. It's a good play.
Should I do the Jar Jar thing again?
If it gets nominated for Best Picture, I might just lose credibility, or the Oscars might lose credibility to me.
I want to get nominated.
It's not a movie. It's not a real movie. This was not written to be on the big screen when it was written originally. This was written to be on stage. This is not written to be a cinematic film.
Am I worthy?
It's a good play, but we need to stop acting like Hamilton's the greatest play of all time when there are so many other plays that are better that have gotten film adaptations. Rent is an example. Cats, I mean, we joked about Cats because of the movie, but the musical is phenomenal.
Were they supposed to make a way?
I mean, In Heights, I think, is better than Hamilton. I think what Hamilton is good at is getting the younger generation into history. You know what I mean? Like the kids that would be in middle school, high school, and all that stuff. It gets them interested in history and musical theater in general. I think that's a really good thing. And Chris brought it up. Leslie Odom Jr. better not get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. You did not perform in a movie. You performed on stage. If this was a movie, completely different thing. I'm not speaking blasphemy, Chris. You're speaking blasphemy. It's a good musical, but it doesn't deserve to be nominated for Best
I would agree.
Picture.
So here's
it got their Tony nominations and their wins. That's where
as somebody who has only seen the recorded version, I've never seen it live, but I've seen the recorded version. It's good. It's engaging. It's good. It's got good music to it. I'm someone who's a little impartial to plays. I don't love long movies, so plays are the same thing. So when I saw it was nearly 3 hours, I was like, "Fuck me, 3 hours? All right, do it."
But music was better. That was my problem with it.
Music was good. I'll give you that.
Yeah, the music is good. I think it's an interesting concept of wrapping American history. I like the exposure that it gives non-white actors of making a play about all white people and making them non-white. I think there's a lot of interesting decisions behind it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the best. It's not the best play I've ever seen. I certainly think there are classical plays that are better. I think for this generation, it'll be I guess my generation, really. It'll be like my generation's Cats. I think it'll do for musical theater for them. The movie was blasphemy, but
when you say your generation,
with the musical? Well, I mean, because when the Hamilton musical came out first in 2014, I would have been 14, 15.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying.
Look,
People who were
this is-
14, 15 when Cats came out are in their 60s now.
Oh yeah, and look,
Right,
this
and
is
that's
all
what I'm
I'm
saying. And it
I just
accrued
think it's funny.
interest. Like think about it.
It's like
The
there's
only
generations in Broadway. There's Cats,
only
and then there's
reason-
Hamilton. 50 years.
The only reason Dame Judi Dench was in that movie is because she's admitted one of her first musical, well, Money, sure, but one of her first musicals was Cats, and it's one of the things that got her into acting.
right.
Okay, then how do you explain Artemis Fowl?
Right, yeah.
That was this. That was this. They had a lot.
Look,
How did Kenneth Branagh end up directing that pile of dog?
I'm shocked that he did. Like,
First
if Hamilton becomes an actual movie,
Yeah,
like
fair
a
enough. At all points, then
stage
yeah.
to film adaptation, good. You're at that point. You're
And I think it
qualified.
could.
Look what Finches did.
I think you'd have to make adjustments to it, but I
Yeah,
think it
I think
absolutely
But
you'd have to write dialogue.
but
I
all
think
I'm
it could
saying,
definitely make the transition.
all I'm saying is if Shrek the Musical was not considered for Best Picture because it did have a theatrical release,
It did. You're right.
then this movie shouldn't be. And like I said, I have a firm stance. If you are made to be a musical, you should not be nominated for Oscars.
Right.
They got nominated for the Tonys. They got nominated for that stuff and won. It's a good
right.
musical. And look, to be fair, not a whole lot's came out this year. That's totally fair.
Mhm.
But this is not a film. This is
Bad
a musical
Boys for Life.
performance.
Yes.
Like I would literally be like, nominate the worst movie of all time as long as it came out this year. You could totally do that. If you want to nominate Trolls World Tour, that should get in over
Artemis Fowl?
Hamilton.
Would you nominate Artemis Fowl over Hamilton?
Over Hamilton,
Yes,
yes, because it's a
Because
movie.
it is actually a movie.
It's a movie.
Oh.
I wouldn't nominate it, but
It's
if I had to choose
blasphemy.
between that and
It's
Hamilton, I'd
blasphemy,
choose
but it's
Artemis
a
Fowl.
movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have
And
Just 'cause it's a
you're
movie.
right. And you're right. So here's the thing: is
You forgot.
no. So
That's
it's
why
like,
opinions exist, Christopher.
yeah, it is all down to opinion. And here's the thing: it also stands to reason would a Hamilton movie even work? Because
Right.
Rent and Cats are two examples of huge famous musicals that did not make the best of movies.
Right.
Did it?
Rent-
I thought Rent was okay because it used the cast.
Rent is fine, but it doesn't translate 100% okay.
Yeah.
And I mean this with 100% legitimacy. One of my friends asked me, because I saw Cats, he was like jokingly like, haha, what'd you think about Cats? And I looked at him dead in the eyes and said, the best part about Cats was Jason Derulo.
Ugh.
And I
No,
stand
no.
by that. And I stand by that because honestly, he's one of the few actors in that movie who knows what he's in, has no problem with it, and is acting like he should be.
True. I mean, you didn't think the like cockroaches that had faces was the best part of the movie?
Or Rebel Wilson doing a striptease more than once with her own skin.
Last time we talked about
or-
Rebel,
Or
got flagged.
Judi Dench's actual hand appearing in the movie by mistake? I mean, come on, there's a lot of great things.
Carl
But no,
Weathers-
Or Ian McKellen looking
Yeah,
2 steps
but-
from a spasm attack.
Right. No, I will say there have been musical,
I think it was just him in the
theater
COVID
like on
vaccine.
Broadway that have worked to be, good
Yeah,
movies.
it's happened.
Like Les Mis, I think is a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it's a good movie. I think that worked. It translated well.
Les Mis is a really, really good movie with an unfortunate Russell Crowe appearance.
Yeah, it's incredible singing.
Yeah, but
by
when he
Russell
jumps
Crowe.
off the thing, yeah, I love it. I love
And In the Heights looks like it's going to be one of those
Yeah,
movies
In the
that's going to
Heights could
translate well.
translate really well. Because In the Heights is a very modern-ish story. I think
Right,
it could work.
And I know it's not a musical, but Fences translated
you know
well
what?
from
I hate
stage.
Eddie Redmayne for that too.
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom just came out. I think it's brilliant. Translates
Right.
perfect.
I've seen some of it. I got to finish it, but I agree it's a good movie.
Have you
What
gotten as far as his monologue?
I got a
Without
little
spoiling
bit
the movie?
after Ma arrives at the recording studio because there's that
Okay,
whole
so you're
thing
not
with
so
the
you're not
popcorn.
quite there yet. Okay, because I think
That's Ice Cube's next movie. We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet.
based off of the Five Bloods And this film, I think Chadwick Boseman has at least earned an Oscar nomination, if not a win, simply because they like to do that with posthumous actors. But he has I don't know if soliloquy is the right term for it, but but it might be in a play version. But he has an extended speech scene where he is describing his past, and it is one of the best acted moments of the year. Just the pure raw emotion that comes through in that scene, and how that emotion just continues to play through the rest of the movie it's brilliant.
Where you see somebody who's passed and you like see like old footage of them crying, it tears you up.
Seeing this movie, and especially when I pair it with his performance in Da 5 Bloods, it makes it's obviously it was sad when he passed away just because of the whole circumstance around it, but it makes it even more disastrous because you could see with these types of performances, he was ready to take that next step. Chadwick Boseman was Black Panther, and he was the guy who put in great performances in a bunch of okay biopics.
Yeah.
He was ready to take it to the next step and really start showing you what he could do. Yeah. And I'm glad he at least got to make these before he passed, so you could see what he was capable of. True. But when you when you see Get On Up, it's a good movie.
Yeah,
it's a good performance, but when you hear he's a classically trained theater actor, you're like, really? Okay, I mean, I'm not seeing it here. You see it in these movies. He's incredible.
I like Get On Up quite a bit. I haven't seen it in a little while, but I think that I actually like that a lot. 42 I like a lot too. I think 42 is a really good one.
No, you're right. 42 is probably the best of them. 42 is solid.
He's great in it. Yeah. I don't think the rest of that cast is good.
I think Harrison Ford is really good in the movie.
Oh, Harrison. The thing is, I forget about Harrison in that movie.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have the biggest role in the entire movie, but I mean, when he's in it, he knocks. I think when he's in it, he does a really good job. I can't remember a whole lot of the other people. They're not phenomenal in the movie, but they're good. They fit kind of that era around when the movie is based upon. They fit that. I thought there was a lot of great moments, like when there's a lot of racial things being thrown at Chadwick Boseman as he's going to bat or whatever when he's on the field. There's a great moment in there with his teammate kind of coming there. I thought that was good.
Yeah. I found some of the other Andre Holland, Christopher Maloney, John C. McGinley, Lucas Black, Alan Tudyk, Brett Cullen, Hamish Linklater.
Not Tudyk. Tudyk.
I thought that I said Tudyk. Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, you don't know how to talk, so
you said Tudyk.
Sorry, I do know.
I wouldn't have gotten on you for that, Aaron. That was all him.
But yeah. So and that's honestly a really solid ensemble. But you're right. But that's what I'm saying. Though is he was in all these movies that were solid.
Yeah.
And his performance was just that standout centerpiece. The 5 Bloods, it's a movie it's my favorite film of the year, personally. I think it's brilliant. He's only in it for maybe 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And he still leaves an impact on top of how great that movie already is.
Yeah. Another one I forgot about for some reason. It's definitely not the best, but Draft Day I thought was pretty solid.
Draft Day, I forgot he was in that. He's one of the backgrounds.
Yeah, he's one of the football players.
Oh, that's a good movie.
But which one?
Chris, I don't think I just have to address it. Chris, I don't think Prom's good enough to get nominated for fucking anything.
Yeah, maybe Razzie.
Maybe Razzie. Corden might get a Razzie nom.
Correction, Meryl Streep's in it, so Meryl Streep will get nominated for Best Supporting Actress or whatever.
True, you're right. But she got nominated for Into the Witch. Anything's possible. Yeah. Yes, Chris, you're absolutely correct. Delroy Lindo should get nominated for The 5 Bloods. He's the only one from that film.
Do you think I should go to bed before I lose my mind?
I was gonna say, do you guys want to talk about Thor at all, or are we good? Wrap it up.
I mean, with Thor, I expected it. Just how it ends, and I thought they mentioned that it was going to happen at some point with at least a couple. Dave Bautista will be in it. I'm sure he probably just hasn't arrived yet. Sean Gunn, and if they don't have Sean Gunn, they'll get somebody else to play the raccoon for that movie. But I think all the Guardians outside of Gamora is going to be in it. It'd be weird if Gamora's in it. I don't think in Thor: Love and Thunder, because it feels like it's going to take place right after. Well, it feels like it's
that's
like.
the one where, like, if it's at the
Thor,
end of the movie.
Thor, I think Thor.
No, I think it's gonna be in the
Thor Love
beginning.
and Thunder. Yeah, I think they'll be briefly in the beginning, and then I think he'll split off.
Where's the love?
Natalie Portman.
The love is
Nobody
his
loves her.
co-stars.
Yeah,
The
Tessa
love is
Thompson.
his co-stars are 3 different women who he clearly wants to bang.
Yeah,
Yeah, but one of them wants to bang another one.
that's gonna be love.
And that's what the movie's about.
And then the Thunder, Chris Hemsworth getting angry by that.
Listen, the love is the love octagon this movie is developing, and the thunder is at the end of the movie. Everyone's cheeks are getting clapped.
Yep.
Is it a love story?
Thor.
Christian Bale.
Listen. Thor's gonna hop on Sif. Lady Thor and Valkyrie are gonna get it on. Meek and Korg are gonna discover each other. It's gonna be a whole thing.
It's gonna be like a halfway point of it in the book.
The movie's gonna end. The movie's gonna have a Guardians level soundtrack, and it's just gonna end with Marvin Gaye's "Let's Get It On."
Here's what it is. No, because Drax is the one that's the sex maniac. It's gonna be Drax.
We're gonna have that, but then you're gonna have Gore the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, come in partway through. That's who's gonna be clapping the cheeks. He's gonna be butchering them.
I have never heard that said in my life.
I've
never heard that.
It's gonna be like an American Psycho.
Gore is gonna clap. Gore's gonna clap Thor's cheeks, and then Natalie Portman's gonna go, "Oh hell no, those asses are mine," and she's gonna lady Thor up, and she's gonna go after him.
No, you're gonna have that, but you're gonna have.
It's a Taika film, so I could be right.
It said Tessa would be looking for a queen.
Yeah, that's what you bring. That's what I said though. Thor gets with Jamie Alexander. Why else would you bring her back?
Before, Chris Hemsworth as Furiosa. Queen of Asgard.
Well, I mean, Chris Hemsworth doesn't like having long hair, so a shaved head is an alternative, I guess.
Do you think that's the one thing I will say, and I think they did already kind of tell us that do you think we're gonna get back in shape, Thor? I think they have.
Eventually.
Taika did say something about that.
I think we're going to get maybe not like I just ate a Scooby-Doo sandwich stomach Thor, but maybe like dad bod.
Like training montage at the beginning of the movie.
What'd you say?
5-minute montage at the beginning of the movie. Funyuns, yeah. Cheese Whiz, yeah. They had so many outtakes for Cheeto responding to like yeah, Funyuns. What do you think is coursing through my veins right now? Cheese Whiz, funny. There's one of them where he says Funyuns, and it was one of those lines that was too funny to put in the movie. If they had put that in the movie, we would have been laughing until Thanos shows up. Funyuns, Rhodey, my God! For the War Machine show, they just needed one scene of him eating Funyuns. They need product placement. Funyuns dipped in Cheese Whiz. God, that's gross. It sounds so gross.
And on that note, we'll go ahead and call the show. That's a great note to end on. So yeah, if you guys take away anything from tonight, HBO makes all of us argue and fight and hate each other, and Thor's clapping cheeks, and Devin's got a biracial penis. Yeah, where can we find you?
Well, just a minute ago, you could have found me looking for that scene in American Psycho, trying to figure out what Christian Bale says in that scene, and that's what he would have been saying.
With Willem Dafoe?
No, in American Psycho.
Right, with Willem Dafoe or with Jared Leto?
No, when he's the sex scene where I'm trying to figure out what he was saying.
Right, or the what sex scene with Jared Leto. He totally fucks Jared Leto in that movie.
Yeah, he fucks Jared Leto. Yep, and that's our connection to
the Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, exactly. But you can find me here as Nikki leaves. You can find me here. Yeah, I forgot they had a child there, but you know what? It's after dark. It is what it is. You can find me on here. You can find me on my.
I forgot they had a kid there.
I forgot because we were talking about clapping cheeks, and then we eventually got to me trying to find out Bale what he was saying in the one fight scene or whatever. He said something to the girls or whatever. That's what I was trying to figure out because that's what he was going to say in the movie. Likewise, Mike said he could find me here on this channel. At times, I'll be on Inside the Horseshoe. As I try to figure out what the fuck I'm trying to say. You could find me, on Inside Horseshoe. Didn't have one for the last few weeks because of some things going on in life, but it is what it is. We'll be back next week. I don't know when, but you'll find me next week for sure with the guys. You can find me on the show, of course, and then I do have my backup channel, personal channel, I should say, where I upload from time to time. There it is. Look right there. I have a reaction of 24. Not a lot of views. Went from 289 to 4 to 18. Kind of disappointed. That's on me. We're gonna get that fixed. So, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, and you guys can find me here on TMG doing all sorts of TMG things. We do the trivia, and we do this thing every week. I put far more effort into this than I probably should for a show that ends up always coming back to penises. But hey, it is what it is. My name is Aaron Knoll. Actually, since it's the end of the year, I'll go ahead and give a little quick speech. Thank you to everyone who has been a part of the show for the last little bit. I joined in about halfway through the year, and it's been a lot of fun. Shout out to Rex and Arandor next to me for starting this with you're throwing me off because it's so loud in my ear.
Play through it.
Shout out to Matt and Matt Graham, who couldn't be here with us tonight. They've created an awesome show, and they've taken it further this year. Shout out to all the regular panelists, Nikki, Devin, Alan, Kevin. He hasn't been here in a few weeks, but he's on the show a lot. Shout out to the people who watch. Shout out to the guests we've had. And we look forward to more of it in 2021. And now for another musical score to end the show with.